Well, just there we go.
Hey.
All right, good morning, everybody. We are gonna get rocking and rolling here. So, all right, we are, today is the ultimate buyers class. So this is a 3-hour CE class for my folks online. If you have any kind of questions, please put them into the Q&A. The chat is too much for us to kind of keep up with while we're actually teaching. We have an in-person class as well. That's also part of our relaunch kind of going on. So this is a 3-hour class. You have to be the full 3 hours. For my online folks, please log in and put in your name and license number, all that kind of stuff in the beginning, the middle, and the end. That's how we make sure that you're on. Your cameras and your microphones are turned off. But if you got any questions, feel free to throw them out there. So my name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here. And then also we have Mark Brown. And he's one of our mentors. And so he and I are teaching this class together. And so we're going to be going over all things dealing with buyers. Now, this class, it's hosted by Maxim One as well as the Wildfire team. And see, we're going to be covering a lot of different information today. I mean, a ton of information. It's everything going to be about buyers. And we're going to start off jumping in on demographics. I want you to know who's today, what today's buyer looks like. Because our buyers are always evolving, right? And so, this is our share of buyers and sellers by generation. And so when you're looking at like where your largest, which generation has more buyers in it for us right now? I mean, of course, we always think about millennials, right? And if you add younger and older millennials together, you get about 28%. So which if you put younger and older millennials together, that is the largest group. But also we have a lot of Gen Xers and a lot of younger and older boomers. Like if you put younger and older boomers on, the younger and older boomers actually are a bigger segment of buyers than just like total boomers versus total millennials. Boomers are still a bigger segment for us out there. Why do you think that is? Why are boomers so active in our market right now?
Transitioning.
Well, a lot of them talk about downsides, but what do our boomers have that our first-time buyers don't have?
Money.
Money. They got equity, right? And so if you're able to carry that equity forward, do you really care what interest rates are? If you're going to pay for cash anyway, and I mean, we're seeing where 50, 80 to 100% of their purchase is being, it comes from the property value increase of selling their existing home. And so, now, but that also does that mean that we shouldn't be looking at millennial buyers right now? But the millennial buyers have really, like they were the lowest, especially over the last year or so. So why were our millennial buyers less over the last year?
They don't have the equity or the money.
Right. Well, but what also went up last year?
Interest rate.
Interest rate. And when interest rates rises, that hurts the buying power of the buyer. And, they can afford less. And so, we do know that right now we see interest rates going which way? Down. And so what do you think happens when interest rates go down with those millennial buyers? They're gonna be in our market a lot more so. And I'm gonna show you something else in just a second. So, this is the age groups of our average buyers out here. And so you can see that, our Gen Zers, we actually have Gen Zers out there now, 18. Our younger millennials are 29. Our older millennials are 38. It's hard to think older millennials as being 38, So our Gen Xers are 50. Our younger boomers are 63. Older boomers are 71. They're really into their retirement. Then we have our silent generation out there. Should be in your book.
It's too small.
Oh, okay. You didn't need glasses. So you're up there with me and the Gen Xers, okay?
Older.
I'm with you. All right, that works. All right, so first-time buyers in any group. So which group has more first-time buyers? Of course, it's going to be our younger buyers, right? But even our Gen Xers out there are still 20% of our Gen Xers are still first-time buyers. And so if you're going to be looking at first-time buyers, what do you really have to focus on? What do you think that's really important for first-time buyers? Education. They don't know what's going on. You have to be a great educator with our younger buyers. They really, really need that so much. So, this is the median age of our buyers. And really what I want you to see is that, see those two, the median age in there of for all buyers? Forget that. Doesn't do you any good. You've either got first time buyers or you've got repeat buyers. There is no average, right? Because if you're a first time buyer, how old is our average first time buyer? 35. 32 to 35, somewhere in that range is where our average first time buyer. How about for our repeat buyers? Almost 60, 58, 59 years old is where our repeat buyer is. And so the reason I point that out is because don't think that there's a median age. Like if you're going to be targeting first time buyers, it's going to be somebody in their early to mid 30s. If you're going to be targeting repeat buyers, it's going to be someone in their mid 50s to the early 60s, somewhere in that range kind of thing. There isn't an average here. You're either a first time buyer or you're a repeat buyer. Y'all with me?
Right.
Yep. Now, you remember when I said we haven't seen millennials as active over the last year. See, residential real estate is highly tied to supply versus demand. This is where our generational trends are. What's the largest generation that we have? Millennials is, so there's more millennials than there are boomers, right? Millennials is our largest generation. You see the area in red? You see those spikes in the very middle? Guess where we're at right now? Oh no. This group right here, we're right here, right? And so they're all about, so this group is about 32. So over the next 3 years, now at the same time, what's our average first time home buyer age?
35.
35, 32, 33, 34, 35. What's happening to the largest population group in the United States over the next 3 years?
Oh,
No.
The age.
They're all reaching first time home buyer age over the largest population group we have in the United States is all reaching first time home buyer age over the next 3 years. Well, there isn't enough houses, but what I'm saying is like, if you're looking for a really great group, as we see interest rates going down, this group is going to be really focused on wanting to buy. Interest rates come down, so like if you're looking for a good area to target, millennial first time buyers is a really good target because they want to buy. They're all reaching first time home buyer age over the next 3 years. As we see interest rates, this is going to be a very popular group. And so don't miss out on it because this is a great opportunity right now to work with our first time buyers and younger buyers. Y'all with me? And so, that's why sometimes people say, well, I'm waiting for the market to crash. Have y'all heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So residential real estate's tied to supply versus demand. Like, do we have enough homes right now? No. Matter of fact, depending on who's counting, somewhere between 3 and 5 million homes that we're short right now. And then how many homes can we build a year? About 1.5 million, just I'm going to tell you, right? But what's happening to the folks moving into the space wanting to buy homes? It's increasing. So we're not really growing any housing stock right now. Even though the builders are building more, we used to build between 1 million and 1.1 million. We're up to 1.5 million. But because over the next 3 years, we have the largest population group all reaching first time home buyer age, it's supply versus demand. Do we have enough enough supply to match with our demand right now?
No.
And demand is going to be going up over the next 3 years, right?
Right.
Even if supply increases, can it increase enough to where? No. So what's going to happen to prices? They're going to continue to grow. Now, it shouldn't go nuts. I don't see double-digit price growth like we saw in 2020, 21, that kind of thing. But that being said, I don't see prices going down at all. And I want you to feel confident in being able to have these conversations with your client because it's always going to be, how's the market? What's happening? It's not up here, but like for Asian, Hispanic, and African American buyers, they're almost 25% of each of those groups is waiting for the market to crash. They're waiting for prices to go down before they buy. And is it important that we share with them? Like what's the net worth for a renter?
$10,000.
$10,000, yes, $10,000 is the average net worth for a renter. What's the average net worth for a homeowner?
300,000.
Almost $390,000. Yeah, big difference. You want to be part of the group that's worth 10 grand or part of the group that's almost worth 400,000. So I know it's more difficult. I understand that, but by the same token, this is why the power of homeownership, wealth in the United States is tied to homeownership. So, so in here on adult composition to households. So this is, married couples have been going down for a number of years, actually. What we are seeing a lot more of, and it's just looking over at all buyers, like 17% of our buyers right now are single females. Y'all know any realtors that focus on meeting the needs of single women? How about single men? They account for about 9%. 10% are unmarried couples. All I'm saying is that like there are groups out there that really don't have a lot of representation. I don't know a lot of folks that target single women, that kind of stuff, but they make up 17% of our market. It's a pretty significant share out there, kind of thing. How many kids does our average buyer have?
Most of them have none.
None. Now, who found that to be surprising? Yeah, because I think they're buying. No, almost 70% of our buyers have no kids. Now that went up partly because who was a big segment of our buyers this past year?
Millennials.
Boomers. Right? Boomers are empty nesters in a lot of cases, kind of thing. So that's partly why that is. But even for our millennial buyers, what are they waiting on till later in life to do?
Have kids.
They're waiting later in life to have kids and buy a home. So right now, 70% of our buyers do not have children. Now, it doesn't mean that nobody does, but that is an interesting statistic. Yes, sir.
So, well, when you say 70% don't have children, is that they haven't had them yet or they're already moved out?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. But either way, like that it just is what it is, right? On there. So
Walter, the ones that don't have kids, this is an opportunity for you to sell them their home that's a move-up home. And then when they outgrow that one, you can sell them the next one.
well, I mean, if you if you look at the breakdown down below, you can see that, of course, well, for our youngest buyers, how many of those have kids? No, I mean, our millennials and our older millennials, Gen Xers, that kind of stuff, about half of them have kids in there. But then once you get into our older boomers, our younger millennials, that kind of stuff, not a lot of kids. That's just kind of where it breaks down. So, right now, 14% of properties or 14% of purchases are for a multi-generational home. And this is also another one that I just want to point out. We end up getting into our own boxes about what we think is a home for our buyers. We recently had friends of ours, and they just didn't make enough to buy a home, right? They were only bringing in about 50 grand. But once they put in and got in with their parents and decided to get a much bigger home, that became something that they really could do and kind of swing for the entire family. And so I just kind of point this out because we are, overall, what's happening with our boomers right now? They're getting older, right? And so that's one of the main reasons why so many multi-generational homes are kind of coming about is because, mom and dad live upstairs and mom and dad live downstairs, the family lives on the other side, that kind of thing. It just makes things a lot more convenient. So whether it's healthcare, wanting a larger home, children, that kind of stuff. So there's just a lot of opportunities out there. And just that June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver house of 2.5 kids and a 4-side brick ranch, like that's not all the homes out there, kind of thing. And so I don't want us to get positioned into that. Somebody have their hand?
I did. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So with them all going in and buying a home together and stuff like that, how does that typically work once they want to sell it? I'm kind of just curious, they make that multi-family home, they all live in it for 15, 20 years.
Right. Well, in a lot of cases, every family is a little bit different. It's gonna, they get to decide how they're gonna take title on that property. And then, for a lot of folks, it'll get left to the younger family in a lot of cases, but every family's different on that. So, on average, your average buyer, 75% roughly of your average buyer has some college and above. And I just throw this out, not that if somebody isn't, that only has a high school graduate, are they not? It's just that when you're trying to market and look out, 75% roughly of all your buyers have a college, some college or above. Now, 22% of all buyers are veterans. Is anybody in here a vet? Thank you for your service. And so, is anybody gonna take a better care of another veteran than you? No, but this is another area where like being able to understand, like a lot of agents don't know what a DD 214 is. They don't understand the benefits of buying with a VA loan and also the challenges of being able to buy and move if you are active duty, and then like what happens if it's your last service station, those kind of things. So like understanding that, I mean, 22% of buyers are veterans. 1 out of 5 buyers are veteran. Is that a great opportunity if you either are a veteran or if you want to work with veterans, to go out and get your MRP, your military relocation professional certification, that kind of stuff might be a very good opportunity for you, because this is a group that sometimes now, like you go down to Warner Robins, everybody down there is very used to working with veterans. How about here? In this part of it, it's, but still, 1 out of 5 of our buyers are veterans. So I find that to be a very good opportunity if that's something that matches your heart. So prior living arrangement. So now, for all of our buyers, about 58% of them owned a home before. Another 28% rented an apartment or house. So for the ones who owned a previous home, those are a lot of times our move up buyer. So for our first time buyers, where are they living at? With the vast majority of our first time buyers, they're either going to be in an apartment or they're living with their parents, right? 13% between lived with parents and friends and relatives, that kind of stuff. Another almost 30% rented. So like you can either target, so our apartment's a viable opportunity to target for first time buyers. Absolutely. Because see, overall for our renters in here, about 42% of your renters expect to buy in the next 2 to 5 years, and 10%. So you knock on 10 doors, one of them is going to buy a home in the next 10 years. Is that a good opportunity if that's something that you're wanting to target? So like what I want you to understand is, as we're going through and talking about these things, the reason I bring these up is because I want you thinking, how can I find, my target clients, who I'm trying to work with, understanding the buyers, understanding the opportunities that I might be able to bring in here. That's the reason for looking at these things this way. So what is our primary reason for buying a home? Why does the average buyer buy a home?
Well, they want to buy.
American dream.
Build well.
I want it. Right? I mean, I know that just sounds very, very rudimentary, but that's the bottom line, right? I mean, there isn't there's no some big epiphany for you here. People want to buy a home because they want to buy a home, right? And so like part of the reason why I share this information is, the big one out here is just the desire to own a home. So if you're trying to work with folks, I mean, what do you think would be a great message to share out into social media? Isn't it time to buy a home? Aren't you ready to own a home? How important is home ownership? Like, just talking about that is a very vital, like if you want to especially work with first time buyers, that kind of stuff, 47% of our youngest buyers out there, they just want to buy a home. So even though interest rates are high, and even though, all these kind of factors, they don't have any equity to bring into it, still, everyone still believes in that American dream. And the biggest piece of that American dream is owning a home out there. So talk about that. Don't act like that's not a big deal, right? That's one of the things, is it really is a very, very big deal. So How about timing? Like why buy a home now? What's the,
Interest rates are down, supplies up, you have more buying power.
yeah, I mean, all that is true. However, like if you just look at in the last year. Why did they buy the home in the last year? Cause it was the right time. Like, you know, let's say that you have an interest rate of 3%. And you're getting divorced. You gonna keep that house?
Probably not.
Whether you want to or not, you gotta get rid of
I
it.
mean, see, you know, stuff happens, right? Right? I mean, and let's say you went and bought, you bought a cute little 1-bedroom condo in the city and you got twins on the way. What you gonna do? I mean, there's, so understand that, yeah, interest rates may be high. There may be challenges to home buy, you know, to the home buying process. But still, what's the number one reason why people buy homes? Because it's just the right time, right? And you know, like, especially if you say it was just the right time and I didn't have a much choice and put it together, that's almost 62% of your buyers is because I had to and it was the right time. Right? I mean, like, it was the best time because of mortgaging financing options. I wouldn't say that the last year has been the greatest time for financing, okay? In there. So I don't see that being a big reason for people jumping over there kind of thing. Inventory has been tight. That's another one that's really pretty low. So please don't talk yourself into this idea that people still don't want to own homes. And that interest rates, you know, like especially I see like this discussion about interest rates is one, like, do y'all know what the interest rate was when my parents bought their first home?
Like
14.5%, right? Ming and I bought a home at like 9 at one point kind of thing.
Yeah.
And cause you know what? Guess what the rates were then? 9%, right? That's what it was. So like, seeing rates in the 6s, and I look back on back in my day, and I know I sound like your grandfather there kind of thing. But like historically, this is not crazy. Like the 3% interest rates and 4% interest rates, those were artificially created. The Fed was buying huge amounts of mortgage-backed securities, which are mortgages. So they were buying just tons of them. They were artificially keeping the rates low because you know, we just come out of COVID. They were trying to stimulate the economy and it worked. But then people started thinking that 3 and 4% was normal. That's not normal. Now people are starting to realize, okay, this is like it really is. This is, and so life is going on. And so just don't talk yourself into thinking like, man, nobody's gonna buy at 6. Nobody's gonna buy at 7. You know, there's still life happens. And that's the big thing. So what type of houses are we considering out there? Overall, 83% are looking at single family homes. However, almost a third, 33%, are considering condos and townhomes. Now, for especially your older agents, when you talk about townhomes, if you were in the market, like when I was back in 2006, 2007, like before the market crash, we were building townhomes out the yin yang. And then when the market crashed, all the townhomes and condos became just like investor havens. And so a lot of agents just kind of got this idea that townhomes and condos, well, like that's not good. Those aren't good. That's just where people go rent kind of thing. And so there's kind of a stigma against that, especially with a lot of your older agents. Now, I don't see that as much with younger agents, but like the other thing is like back in my day, my first home, can y'all imagine what my first home was?
Single family.
It was a 3-1 ranch. Yeah, we all shared one bathroom that connected to the hallway into the master kind of thing. And so like it wasn't even a 3-2, it's a 3-1 ranch. That was, and then, you know, then later on, and you know, a lot of folks, their first home was a 3-2 ranch. What's a starter home today? I mean, are there 3-2 ranches out there to be bought by most of our buyers?
No.
No. But what do we see the builders building a ton of? Townhomes and condos, right? They're a little bit less expensive. You know, like for our buyers today, they love not having to deal with maintenance and mowing the grass and all this other kind of stuff. So like, again, make sure that you're being very open-minded about it. Because overall, these are the types of homes that we actually end up purchasing out there. But what we see, well, especially right now, what we're seeing is, we're seeing where our buyers are being more creative than the agents. Well, it's very, like, I talked about it earlier, but so many of us get this idea of this is what a home is. Right? And so so you have a buyer and maybe they can't afford where they want to live. Are they willing to move? You know, are you will, you know, like, you know, you work from home anyway. How about, you know?
Yeah.
Can we find you a house in Jackson, Georgia, or out in the boonies or whatever kind of thing? I mean, there's a lot of other options, you know. We had some clients that bought a double wide on a couple acres. Now, I'm not gonna go buy a trailer, probably. I'm snooty, I got it. But for them, it was the right house at the right price, right? And so what I'm saying is don't have this idea of this is what a home is today. Because it could be, you know, of course, a single family detached is still gonna be the biggies out there. But you know, you got cabins, cottages, duplexes, apartments, condos, mobile homes, manufactured homes, townhomes, those kind of things. So there's a lot of, you know, what a house is today. We're seeing that because of affordability, our buyers are being really creative. They have to be. Agents need to be as creative, is what I'm saying. Yep.
So in Kentucky, it got really big over towards Vine Grove, double wides, where everybody was just buying up this land and putting a double wide out there. So when you actually go out there, like if you're going through E-Town, it's a lot of single family detached, you know, homes, and then you go out even further in the country, you'll just see nothing but modulars.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit different element, but in a lot for them, the starter home is a modular home.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing, don't get trapped into that. Yes, sir.
So what's your opinion on these homes now? My mom keeps sending me these, they're taking these, I guess, these trains. And they turning it into like a boxcar.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing container homes now, we're seeing train homes. I mean, like, you know, the problem with like tiny homes, trains, those kind of things is they need to be affixed to the land. Or else you can't get them financed. And most of your tiny homes are built on a trailer frame kind of thing. And so that's a completely different financing option. They really need to be affixed to the land in order to be able to get the financing, you know, long-term financing that they need.
But do you think it's worth it in the long run?
Well, I mean,
Financially beneficial?
Well, if we're talking about train cars, I have no idea about train cars, right? Like, I don't have any kind of data or history on saying, you know, this is what they appreciate over long term. Now, tiny homes, same kind of thing. We are getting a lot more data on that. But it depends on like at that point you start looking and seeing like what are the trends? Yeah, we are seeing where tiny homes that are affixed to the land continue to appreciate at the same amount as traditional homes are out there, kind of thing.
As long as they, like, if they have like, you know, something, they get it attached with the hurricane straps and all that, and they convert it to real property, right?
Correct.
Then it's good.
Then it's
You can
good.
do that at the closing table as long as everything's in agreement.
Well, you have to go through, there's a whole permitting process you have to go through, especially for mobile homes and that kind of stuff. There'll be a little placard normally in the cabinet in the kitchen cabinet inside there. You have to take that down. They'll have to have the property inspected. But yeah, once it's affixed and it becomes real property, that's where the real value comes in. All right, distance between home purchased and previous home. And so what we're seeing is, now, this is different because over the last couple of years, this has really rocked residential real estate, and particularly in Georgia. Because for years in Georgia, the average distance moved was 14 miles. And then last year, it shot up to 100 miles. And this year, it's down to 50. So we can't figure out what we're doing for the most part. All I can tell you, well, but you know, like this is real, right? Like we've seen where, and part of it is driven for several reasons, right? We have an older, you know, our boomers, when they sell and buy, they're moving closer to the grandkids. For them. For a lot of folks, because of affordability, they're moving to where they can afford to buy. That doesn't seem to be as extreme as it was last year. Last year, like I said, the average move was over 100 miles. This year it's 50 miles. The thing I really want you to want to point out here is that if you're gonna, do you have to have a good referral network here? Because
Absolutely.
you really, really have to have a referral network. That's one of the things that we have to be very conscious of, because our buyers are willing to move much farther now than they have in past. Used to be, it was very easy. The vast majority of them of my sellers would also be a buyer. Now your sellers may need to be getting referred out. Yep.
Yeah, especially if wherever they're at, they sell really high and able to buy something in really low. And
Yeah.
a lot of them, they're just taking that and moving it straight over. and back,
Exactly.
you know, below it all.
And that's a big win, right?
Absolutely.
So. How important is neighborhood?
That's important.
Neighborhood is a big, big deal, right? And so we have to understand that. Now, what constitutes a good neighborhood? This is your overall real estate knowledge kind of thing. It's just the quality of the neighborhood. Like, are there oil stains in the road and cars parked out there? Are there abandoned cars in there? Are the yards overgrown? Are the houses maintained? Those kind of things.
Safety, the schools.
Well, I mean, all that comes into play. And for our seller, I mean, for our buyers, they care a lot about that quality of the neighborhood. And so we have to understand that, but it's one of those things, like a lot of times folks will say, I don't want an HOA. Right? But why do we have, as a real estate pro, what are the benefits of an HOA?
Good reason.
How's the overall quality of a neighborhood that has an HOA? Always good, right? Now, everyone may hate the HOA, and may hate the little lady that walks around with their dog, pointing out that your mailbox is sideways, but their property values are much stronger, right? And so, if your buyer pulls into a neighborhood and the whole neighborhood looks crappy, is there any point in even showing that house? So the quality of the neighborhood really does matter. And so we have to understand that. The other thing is, because a lot of more folks are working from home. Where's the water cooler then? Like it used to be, you would go out to the water cooler and talk to folks. Where's your water cooler now? It's at your house. And so that neighborhood becomes even more important out there. So.
I've had it happen so many times too, where I show buyers homes and they'd be like, this is it, but they're like, I can't stand the neighborhood.
Yeah, I love the house, hate the neighborhood. Yeah, they won't buy, right? Yeah. All right, so how big a house are we buying? And so overall, 1,800 square feet. But what we see is we see that, our younger buyers are buying smaller homes. Once you hit the same ages where we have a higher percentage of kids, the square footages of the homes kind of tends to go up as well. The other thing that we've seen is this number has dropped over the last year and a half. Why do you think that we're buying smaller homes now?
People are moving in together because.
Say it loud, say it proud. Cost, right? So if my interest rates went up, that hurts my buying power. I can afford less home. What do I have to, what's the easiest way to get a cheaper house? Buy a smaller house. And that's exactly what we're seeing is those, that's what's driving that in there. Now this one, the title messes with your mind. Environmentally friendly features are important. It's not environmentally friendly, okay? Heating and cooling costs, commuting costs, energy appliances, windows, doors, efficient lighting. Like how much does this house cost to maintain? That's what's important, that kind of thing. Depending on the age as well as their particular situation, commuter costs might be a factor, but we see that for a lot of folks, commuter cost is not as big a factor, but it really depends on what your job is, that kind of thing. And so putting in energy efficient windows, extra insulation, those kind of things are big deals to our buyers. How much is it going to cost for this house to be maintained, that kind of stuff.
What about those solar panels on your house?
They make up nationwide, they make up about 5%. In Georgia, it's less than 1%. Some states are way ahead on solar as compared to Georgia. Georgia's really pretty far behind. Especially out west, we see a lot of homes a lot of your new construction homes have solar built into them, kind of thing. And that's kind of a challenge because so many most of the time solar panels are a second mortgage.
It's a little expensive.
Yeah,
But they're like 10, 15 grand.
no, 20 grand, yeah,
Did it last a lifetime too?
20 to 25 years still.
Yes, you might be carrying them the whole time you actually get to use them.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
So like, you know, I'm not pro or con seller, because I see it, I see the benefits, I also see the challenges, you know. Like what does it do to your roof? I hate having to drill holes in roofs and things like that, but I love saving money, so there's a challenge going on both sides in there. All right. What do our buyers compromise on?
The price.
Price. I mean, and honestly, this hasn't really changed that much, right? Even though interest rates have gone up, all those kind of things. Well, I mean, like for the last 20 years, what have people compromised on? Price, right? No, I mean, do you ever be like, that's a really good price, we should buy it? Or you always wish, man, I wish it could have got it for less, right? So like understand that's partly like always true, right? So, but then, you know, it's the other things that start to come into play with that. So like price and condition, size, style, square footage, those kind of things all kind of come into play. But still, the number one thing that our buyers compromise on is price. And even though I know that that's been something that kind of goes on for a long time, that's something you really want to have a conversation with your buyer clients about. How firm are you on price? And when you are talking about price, like for our buyers, is it price or is it payment? It's payment. Payment's where it really comes down to. Our buyers have no idea what things cost. They know how much it cost me a month. They have no idea what that total price is. I mean, they just don't understand how that ties together. And so understand that we have to make sure that we are talking about payment. And so bringing in a lender very early on into that situation is very, very important, and being able to talk about how much play we have in there. And if you know that a buyer, you know, look, we can afford $300,000, absolute top. And if you have to give on something and you're looking at homes at $300,000, is there any room to play?
No.
No. So should you be looking at homes at 280 instead?
Yeah.
Yes, because then you got a little room to play, is what I'm talking about. I mean, we see this especially like new construction neighborhoods all the time. Like they will buy up to the penny that they are qualified for. They will buy every upgrade, whole 9 yards. If they're approved for 317, they're gonna spend 316,999, right? They will. So just gotta understand that, give yourself a little bit of buffer, give them a little bit of buffer on there. Because price is the number one thing that we compromise on. All right, how long do our folks expect to live in a home? Overall, our younger and our older buyers expect to live in a home about 20 years. The average is that they expect is 15. However, how long has the average seller lived in a home? The average person who sold a home, how long did they live in it? 8 years. It's not on the screen, I'm just telling you. The average seller has lived in their home at 8 years. Overall, the average person has lived in their home about 10 years. People have this expectation they're going to be there much longer than they actually are, is really what it comes down to on here. So, what is the first step somebody takes when buying a home? So what do you do? When you're thinking about buying a home, what do you do? You start looking online, you start looking at homes. Only about 18% of folks actually reach out to a real estate agent. It means 82% aren't reaching out to us right away. So who has to be the one to initiate conversations?
Really?
We have to be the one who does it, kind of thing. You know, 8% looked for online information about it. You know, another 9% went in and looked at getting their financing options put together, but still, by and large, it's one of those where they start looking at homes. Is what is really one of those things that kind of it's a tell out there. How long does the average buyer look for a house? 2.5 months. The average buyer is 2.5 months. Why is that important for you to know? Well-
They're ready.
What happens after 2.5 months?
They're
They're
lose. They're lose interest.
They fire you. Okay, look, you've got 2.5 months to get the job done. Start to finish. The average buyer's 2.5 months. And so what we see for most of our buyers, you can normally lose on about 3 offers on a home. If you place 3 offers and lost 3 offers on a home, what's that buyer do to you? They fire you. What happens if it takes you longer than 2.5 months to get them in a home? What are they gonna do? They're gonna fire you. And so understand that when you get a buyer, the clock's ticking, right? We have to understand that and I see it happen, unfortunately, to a lot of folks. You know, they think, oh, well, they're not really that serious. They're not really that engaged. Are they really that serious?
Yes.
Yeah, they may not come around and jump up and down, that kind of stuff, but they are looking, they will fire you. You've got 2.5 months to get somebody in a house, and so you need to treat it with that type of importance out there. Now, our average buyer is looking at 5 homes, and they're looking at 4 houses online. So they're favoriting 4 houses, they're looking at 4 houses, that's another thing, anytime someone is favoriting and liking homes, is that a big tell for you? Yes. The average person is looking at 5 homes, is that a lot?
No.
Well, it depends on really what you take into context, right? Like back in, let's say 2008, right after the market crashed. We had a huge, we had more inventory than we had buyers. How many homes were buyers looking at then? 10 houses, yeah. We were looking at 10 houses, so our average buyer is looking at half as many houses. Now, part of it is also, like what happens to good houses?
They go
They're gone.
Fast.
And yeah, so a lot of times you'll have that buyer who's like, well, we're just gonna sleep on it. Well, then you're not gonna sleep in it, because it's gonna be gone, right? That's a big kicker right there. Sorry, that's my wife's line.
Yeah.
I steal that from her, so that's okay. All right. Now, where did the buyer find the home that they purchased? Internet. This is, like this should sting. A lot of folks just oh, it's just the internet. No. What I want you to understand is this should bother you. This should really, really bother you. Because we're not there yet, but I can tell you in a minute, we're gonna come to what is the most important thing that a buyer wants from their agent. Let me guess, before the slide comes up.
To get them all.
Find me a house. Find me a house. Where are they finding their homes? By themselves. And so like we have to be providing value. It's important that we provide value. They're gonna look online anyway. But what happens when you send them the properties? Yes, that's so much more important, right? Only 29% found their home from their real estate agent. This is on us, folks. Right? Only 30% are coming from us. Over half they're finding on their own out there. And then we get our feelings hurt when they're like, well, I did all the work. Now we all know they didn't do the work, but what's the most important thing in their minds? Find me a home. Well, I went and did that myself. I did the most important thing, right? And so this is one of those, it's a very, very big deal to your buyers out there. So what's the most difficult steps? Well, here we go.
Finding the right property.
Finding the right property. Thank you. It's on the screen, but yeah, we just talked about that, right? Number 1 is finding the right property, and they're doing it themselves. So this is a big deal. So should we make sure that we are setting up property searches for every one of our clients? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. After that, the second biggest, most difficult step, paperwork. Again, what's that say about us? Right? We're not taking much time. And paperwork for me, the reason I see paperwork being a challenge is because of AuthentiSign. DigiSign, AuthentiSign, any of the digital signatures. I know agents that will just be like, hey, I sent you the contract. Be very, very careful about that, because on one hand, we love the convenience of AuthentiSign, DocuSign, those kind of things. But you know, it used to be, and again, back in my day, we'd sit down with a client, right? And here's the contract, and we go through each section, turn and flip. You have any questions here? Oh, what about this? And we kind of do that whole thing. Now it's, hey, I send it to you, click the, you know, just hit the button at the bottom. And if you're doing it that way, you're not doing any service for your clients. If you are, and I'm not saying not to use them, absolutely use them and say, as soon as you get this, call me, let's go through it together. And you can do the same thing over the phone. You can do the same thing on Zoom. You can still explain it and be there to answer those kind of questions. But Authentisign and DocuSign and all that kind of stuff is hurting us because we're not stopping to really explain what's really like the whole process here. Yeah, please do that because, you know, the next one is understand the process and steps. A lot of times, you know, like especially for sellers, we think that they just know, like, I don't have to explain anything. You already bought a home, right? Has the market changed at all since they bought a home? Yeah, you know, only 13% of our buyers say that saving for the down payment was difficult. That's gonna be our first time buyers out there. So what's the most preferred method of contact that our clients have? Right. So do you need to fall in love with your phone? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes. I know, I preach about this a lot. Percentage of time using devices in home search. 60% of our buyers, 60% of the time are using mobile devices. Why do you think that's important for us to pay attention to? Are our buyers using apps? Yes. So should you be sharing your app? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes, because they're absolutely using mobile devices. What actions are they taking as a result of an internet search? Oh, that's a pretty house. What do they want to do? They want to walk through the home. Half the time, almost 44% of the time, they're going to reach out to the agent that sent them the property. So should you be sharing properties? Yes or yes?
Yeah.
Yes, right? Almost half the time they reach out to the person who sent them the property. And so if you're sharing listings on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, that kind of stuff, that's a great place to be because half the time they're, hey, can you show me that house? That kind of thing. It's a really big deal. And half of them want to go see it. It's a really good thing. So, you know, about a third of folks will go drive by it. Why will buyers drive by a house?
See if they like that
Well,
area.
because look, in the real estate world, we will catfish a headshot, we will catfish a listing. So, you know, like they want to see what the neighborhood really looks like, you know, does the house really look that way, that kind of stuff. About 30% of folks want to put an offer on a home that they see online that they like. Now, I don't think that that's wise necessarily, but that's what they're ready to do at that point. So just understand that all these are really big. Another third of them are ready to get qualified for a mortgage when they see a home that they like online. When it comes to your websites, what's the most important feature of your website? Pictures. Pictures is number one. And then after that, detailed information. So like always script your listings, that kind of stuff. But what I found very interesting is 53% of folks say that they want the real estate agent's contact information. And I know none of us like spam, but if you're gonna be sharing properties out, and if you have a website out there, do you want your contact information front and forward, yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes, please put that out there. Floor plans is another biggie, and that's one that, you know, we can do a lot better. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday's class. But floor plans is another one that folks want to see. Virtual tours on there. So what's the average down payment that our buyers are making right now? Well, for our boomers, they're coming in with a lot more, right? So for our repeat buyers, it's about 17% they're putting down. For our first time buyers, they're putting down 6%. The reason I point this out is like for years, and there's a general belief, how much money do you have to put down in order to buy a home? Huh?
Yeah.
Look, for years, it was always, you need 20% to buy a home, you need 20% to buy a home, you need 20% to buy a home. Do you need 20% to buy a house?
No.
So for our first time buyers, they're paying an average of 6%, which means that some are gonna paying 3 and some are paying 8 or 9. The average is 6%. So can you get into a house for 5%? Yeah, possibly, depending on your situation, that kind of thing. It's important that we talk about these things, especially for our first time buyers, because saving for that down payment is a big deal. And how much sooner can you buy a home when you don't have to save 20%, when you can save over 6%, right? So, oh, and by the way, if you're renting and you have to do first plus last plus security deposit and pet deposit, how much is that normally? About 5% for a lot of folks, right? So what's the biggest source of down payment, however?
Savings.
Savings out there. You know, for our boomers, they're getting a lot of money from their primary sale, that kind of stuff. Gifts from family and friends, from parents, that kind of stuff. That's another really biggie out there. But the bottom line is it really does come from savings, right? That's where the largest group out there comes from. How difficult is the mortgage process for our buyers? So, you know, overall, about 30% say it's more difficult or much more difficult than they really expected. But about 70% say it's about what they liked or easier, depending on the situation. So what we find is that 30% generally constitutes the folks who are more challenged credit-wise in there. So what's the reason why our buyers are getting rejected out there? The number one reason, DTI, debt to income. How much debt they have versus what their revenue coming in is out there. They've got, they have to be in there. After that is credit score. Most people think it's just credit score. Most of your buyers think that all I have to worry about is my credit score. Is it credit score or is it debt to income? Debt to income is the bigger fact. More people get rejected because of DTI than they get rejected because their credit score is low. Yep.
Is that debt to income ratio like current debt that they have, or are they considering if they took on the mortgage?
No, it's all the debt they currently have.
Okay.
Yep. Out there. After it gets smaller on the rest of them, but really those are your the two big factors is debt to income and credit score. And the reason I talk about this is because, listen, we are not lenders. We are not financial planners. However, where do the vast majority of your buyers get their financial advice from? Us. More people come to us for advice about how do I save for a down payment? How do I get my finances in order? They come to us before they go to a lender. They come to us before they go to family, that kind of stuff, because a lot of times folks don't want to talk to their family about financial matters, that kind of stuff. So while I am going to be serious about stay in your lane for sure. I mean, how many times do you get asked financial information that you think, well, you ain't got a mama?
All the time.
Right? I mean, like you think that they should be talking about this to family, and that kind of goes across the board in real estate. I've learned way more about people's lives than I ever wanted to know. But when it comes to that financial piece, they just need basic advice, right? I mean, just good solid advice, right? Pay your bills on time, don't have a bunch of crazy debt out there. So, I mean, there's nothing really earth shattering about that.
If you have a really good lender that you want to work with, most lenders will have what they call their top 10 things to do or not do before you're going to buy a home. And most lenders will look at the client's application and they will give them a plan to fix what they have to fix. Sometimes what they should pay off, what they think they should pay off, the lender says, no, don't pay that off, pay this down instead. So that's why it's good to have a lender that you want to work with that knows how to work with the clients really well and to give them a plan to get them ready. And by you giving them that advice, you become the trusted individual in the process.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk about loan types. So are VA loans bad?
No.
Are FHA loans bad?
No.
Conventional loans, are they better? Ooh, okay, and what I want you to understand is, first of all, you have to understand that the loans aren't playing from a level playing field. The loan types are. Like on your conventional loans, first of all, there's more of them. Because on your conventional loans, once I have 20% in equity, I don't have to pay mortgage insurance, which can be hundreds or multiple hundreds of dollars a month. With an FHA mortgage, you can never get rid of that mortgage insurance, that PMI or that MI in there, depending on the situation. There are more conventional loans than there are FHA loans. The requirements on a seller are different depending on the situation. So like what I mean by that is, like, my house has a well. Now, there's also water on my street, but we're well people. We have no problem. We love our well. Well works great. But if I wanted to sell with an FHA loan, I would have to bring the city water into my house in order to qualify for an FHA loan or a VA loan for that matter. And I would have to eat that cost. So if I'm selling, am I going to sell with an FHA or a VA loan?
No.
I'm not going to offer that financing, right? So like on VA, you know, does the seller have to pay for a clear termite letter? Yes,
Is it FHA or VA?
VA.
Yeah, yes.
VA has to do. So not an FHA anymore. So again, and then the appraisal requirements are not the same for all three. Conventional tends to be a little bit less stringent. FHA a little bit more stringent than that, and VA even more stringent than that. So I'm just throwing this out there not to say, look, VA loan, I love VA loans. VA loans, no mortgage insurance ever on a VA loan. No down payment for that. It's a great product for our veterans out there. But it comes, there's some hair attached to it, right? There's some stipulations on there. And so we have to know that. What we're seeing right now, we're seeing FHA a much higher percentage. Now, overall, FHA nationwide only takes up about 17% of our market. So just going in, and when you're competing with other offers, and from a seller's point of view, if there's less restrictions on the conventional loan versus an FHA loan, and I have more conventional loans coming in, can that be a factor?
Oh, yeah.
It can be, and so like we just have to, and I'm not saying anything good, bad, please don't, and I'm not saying FHA loans aren't good. I'm not saying VA loans aren't good. I'm saying you have to understand the marketplace of where you sit and how things really do work. Right, and so just kind of take that into account because, you know, there are more conventional loans. They don't have quite as many restrictions on them. So they tend to be more preferred by our sellers. For our buyers right now, FHA lowered their mortgage insurance premium amounts, really saved folks up to like $1,000 a year for most people out there. I think FHA is a great product right now. We're going to see that, you know, like as we move, we're seeing inventory slightly increasing right now. We're seeing a little bit more inventory in the market, that kind of thing, which is really, really good. As we transition into a more of a balanced market, like at closing, does the finance type matter at the closing table?
No.
What is it always at the closing table?
Net to sell
Everything is cash at closing. Right? I mean, when you're at the closing table, it doesn't matter. That seller's getting a check, whether you did FHA or cash or conventional. At the closing table, it's all cash, right? And so, like, I do want you to understand the differences and how they apply. But that being said, I'm not bashing it. Do know what's going on with the market. We're seeing more FHA loans come through right now than we've seen in a long time, and I love FHA. So,
Ellen, what about the appraisal? How are the appraisals different from loan to loan?
well, the appraisals on conventional are less stringent. FHA a little bit more stringent than that, and VA even more stringent. I mean, what I mean by stringent, like they're gonna have a wider range of square footage that they're gonna account for. They're gonna be able to go out a little bit farther, and they're gonna be able to go have a longer time frame. VA is gonna be the most restrictive. FHA's a little bit less restrictive than VA, and conventional is going to be the most lax of all of them. So,
And it sticks with the property.
now an FHA appraisal sticks with the property for 120 days. But not so on a conventional. If it's in BA, sticks with it. All right. Clicker decided to die. Try that out. If this works. All right, there we go. All right. Method of home purchase. 86% of our buyers bought their property through a real estate agent or broker. 2% directly from there. Overall, for sale by owner accounts a net of about 7%. Is really where it goes in. I mean, for sale by owner is this year's for sale by owner what matched the lowest for sale by owner percentage of all time. So, like we hear, there's lawsuits going on, and there's there's all these people in our space, and there's always somebody that talks about how, oh, it's an Amazon of real estate, or this is the Uber real estate. We had iBuyers for a long time coming in, and all this kind of stuff going on, and high interest rates. What is crucial to the real estate transaction? Who is crucial?
We are.
We are. And it's not, like used to be, we were the brokers of information, right? If you wanted to buy a home, who'd you call? Me. If you wanted to know how much to pay, who'd you ask? Me. And you want to see what properties are available, who'd you ask? Me. What do you do now?
Internet.
But if it's online, it's true. No, right? It's not about information anymore. It's like, who can I trust? How can I make heads or tails out of the information? That kind of thing. It comes down to trust more than anything. Trust in relationships is really where it does come down. So, what are the benefits provided by using a real estate agent? 53%. Help me understand the process. So, what do we all have to be?
Knowledge.
Teachers, educators, guides, that kind of stuff. Over half pointed out or any kind of unnoticed features, faults of the property. So when you go on that showing, like pointing out, like you don't have to be negative Nelly, but do, like we've walked in with clients and they'd be like, oh, look at this. This is amazing. I'm like, man, there's a 2-inch crack in the brick, right? You gotta make sure that we're there for that too. Provide a list of service providers. Do you have vendors to share with your clients? It's important that you do, and who they are matters a lot. Because if you give them somebody who does a crappy job, they will judge you. They will call it on you on there. That we improve their knowledge of search areas, that we can help them negotiate. All these are the things that are really important. And so if you're trying to attract yourself to buyers, what do you think would be really good topics to talk about on social media? Everything on that list, basically, is what I'm saying, right? Here's your tell, like this is what they said were the best benefits that we provide, so what should we do more of? Those. Make sure that you're skilled in those areas is really what it comes down to. Now we gotta get a little bit negative here. So NAR went out and they polled tons of buyers and said, how about those disclosures from your agent, and your buyer representation? So when it comes down to agent representation, who do I represent in a transaction? Overall buyers said 25% of us said, yeah, at the first meeting, we disclosed who we represent in that transaction. 20% when the contract was written, and that is like in Georgia, we have to make sure that buyer brokerage is signed before we submit any offers. 10% said, yeah, at some point, right? 25% said no. They had no idea who their buyer represented or who their agent represented. And 25% said no, another 20% had no idea. Now, when it comes to getting your buyer brokerage agreement, 35%, a third of them said they had a written buyer's agreement. 20% said they had an oral, 18% said they had an oral agreement. Now, I know it's a class of mainly newer folks here, but like, if it's not written, It ain't real,
Right.
okay? 34% of buyers said that they did not have a signed buyer brokerage agreement. And 14% didn't know. So when you look at this, whose fault is this?
Really.
Yeah, well,
100%, this is us, right? Only 25% of our buyers know who represents who in a transaction, and only 35% say that they have a signed buyer brokerage agreement. This is on us. And now, this is also another one, I think part of this also goes to Authentisign. And the electronic signatures thing, we just send things over and, you know, it's like, oh, and this and this and this, and then we send them over 22 brochures and all this other kind of stuff. So I know some of it gets lost in the paperwork, but this is a big deal. Like on any transaction, do we need to make sure that our buyer knows who we represent?
yeah.
100%. But and we're gonna talk about this more going forward, but like, can I negotiate on your behalf if I don't have an agreement with you?
No,
No. That's crucial, and that's gonna be, we're gonna talk a lot more about that in a minute, yep.
So do you feel like as if they actually had the buyer agency agreement and they had signed it, but the realtor didn't explain to them that they were signing with them saying, oh, I represent you, or was it just like they didn't even get them to sign it? They're just like, oh, write up this offer with me.
Well, I mean, it just shows that even if they did get sent, they have no idea that they got it,
We did do a good job of educating.
yeah. Ooh. How a real estate agent was compensated. Half of them said paid by seller. 14% thought it was paid by seller and buyer. 28% by buyer only. 71% said it was based on sales price, but they didn't know who paid. Well, again,
oh, no.
do the buyers know what they're paying for? Who's getting paid? If we're not talking about who we represent, then how on earth are we talking about the fees charged? This is really where a lot of that Sitzer Burnett trial comes back from, is because no one knew who was getting paid, who was charging what, those kind of things. Like it's important that we have very clear representation. These are the services I provide. These are the fees that I charge. So we'll talk more about that. All right. How many time or what percentage of real estate agents are interviewed? Like, how many agents get interviewed? One. 2/3 of buyers will go with the first agent they meet face to face. 2/3. Why is that an important number for me to shout about?
You need to be meeting your people.
Okay, so 2/3 of appointments into the transaction, what do I need to have more of? Appointments, right? So I need to, so like the more people I meet face to face, the more clients I'm gonna have, right? So like if you're first and you have a pulse, 67% of the time they're your client. So be first is really what it comes down to. So what do buyers want most from their agent? When we talked about this earlier,
Find them a home.
find me a house, yep. Yeah, help me negotiate with the price and the terms, but still, what's the number one thing they want from us? Find me a house. Seriously, this is one of those things that and I know I preach. Share property listings and online, send them to your clients, send properties to everybody. One of the most important factors when choosing a real estate pro was number one, agent's experience. Now, does it say the age of the agent?
No,
Does it have any transactions? No, do you know what you're talking about? Do you understand the process? Right? After that, agent is honest and trustworthy. The reputation of agent has. Are you a good listener? Are you a friend? All these are important factors. And it doesn't mean that you have to be their friend first, but we have to go from being known to being liked to being trusted in there. So overall, honesty and integrity continue to be the most important factor or the most important skill that we need to have. Honest, can I trust you? Honesty, integrity, responsiveness, knowledge of the process. That's what's really important. You don't have to be an agent for 30 years. You don't have to do, you don't have to show 5,000 transactions. Are you honest? Are you responsive? And do you know what you're doing? It's really what it comes down to. How important are agent communications? And this one should be a smack in the face for a lot of agents, unfortunately. And what I mean by that, the number one thing that our buyers want from us is
Calls.
call personally and inform me of activities. Tell me what's happening in the market. Call and talk to me. The number one thing your buyers want, call me. Now, how often do we talk ourselves out of calling our clients? Yeah, I don't want to bother them. I'm not gonna bug them. They'll think I'm a pushy car salesman, that. But what's the number one thing they want from us? Call me. Send me property information. Guys, we haven't heard that anywhere before, have you? I know. Send postings as soon as the property is listed. Send emails about my specific needs. Send market reports. Call me. Send me properties. Text me. Email me. Reach out to me. All those things that we do through our databases and CRMs, right? All those things that our CRM tells us to call these people. What should we do? Call them. Now, that's what's really important out there. What is our average buyer's satisfaction with the buying process? How satisfied are our buyers? Well, when you do ratings like this, like only very satisfied counts, because you're either very satisfied or you're not. So you're either getting a 5 or you're not. Overall, how very satisfied are our buyers? Not very. 60% of our buyers are very satisfied. That means 40% of all the buyers are not very satisfied. Whose fault's that? Yeah. But what's the benefit for you if you are a good agent? Well, I mean, like folks need really good agents. Like there is a place to really build some great business here, because we see where a lot of folks are missing the mark. How often would a buyer use their real estate agent again? 75% of the time.
Very good.
Really?
That's gonna be lower.
So let me, so if when you drove on the interstate, you only wrecked, or you made it there 75% of the time, is that okay? How about if 75% of the water you drank was safe? Is that okay? Right? I mean, like, it's very easy to be like, yeah, that's pretty good. Well, but that 1 out of 4 of your clients wouldn't use you again. I think that's terrible. Thinking that I know 4 people, or I sell 4 houses, 1 of them won't use me again? That's terrible. So I just think that there's a lot of room for us to do there's a lot of room to be a great buyer's agent out here. So then how do they find us? Where do buyers find their agents? Referrals and past clients. Half your buyers found you from referrals and past clients. Right? There's a lot of other things out there. Zillow, all these kind of things that you can do. You can buy leads, a bazillion different things you can do. What's the biggest piece of the pie? Referrals and past clients. So don't miss out on that, because that's a very important piece. So, do you look like the commission that you charge? I'm serious, this is a big deal, right? I mean, like what's the average commission? No, I mean, like depending on your market, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $12,000. How could you gotta look for that? I mean, like your appearance, I wanna say, you know what? Like appearance doesn't matter, no one will judge you. Lie. They will absolutely judge you, okay? So if you wanna have less conversations about how much you're worth and what you get paid. Go and look and write. I know that it's very rudimentary, but it's very, very true. So. Also, before someone's ready to engage with you, they're going to check you out. If they don't know you, they're gonna check you out, right? And so you wanna go and make sure that. That you show up. You need platform, you need to have an updated profile on Georgia Musk, Trillion, Zillow, homes.com, Realtor, Facebook. You need to have a Google My Business page, a Nextdoor account, and a brokerage website. I don't know why I've Googled My Business twice, but I do. Well, they're gonna go out, and one thing I want you to do is go out and Google yourself, first name, last name, real estate, and see what shows up. Now, if anything other than these show up, then you don't have good profiles out there. Because if you have a good profile on all these places and somebody goes out and Googles your first name, last name, and real estate, that's what will show up. But if not, and it can take months for that information to get, picked up by all the search engines, that kind of stuff. It's important that you do this now. We had one young lady, she had just so happened to share a name, her name was the same as a porn star. And she had no profile set up. So when you Googled her, what showed up? Everything you did not want to see, okay? Like everything, yeah. But and it took us several months to go get all of our profiles updated, but then it started showing up when people were looking for real estate service. You can't stop the other stuff from being out there, but you can make sure when someone's looking for you for real estate, luckily they didn't look anything alike, right? So you want to make sure that your photo looks like you, not 20 years and 20 pounds ago you kind of thing. You want to make sure you have a slogan message that kind of truly represents who you are. And then you want to make sure that that's the same message on all the different platforms. So go create your bio and about me, and you put it all on all these different sites at the same time. That way you're very consistent when somebody looks at you on your Facebook page or looks at you here or looks at you there, that kind of stuff. But do you appear trustworthy and professional? You have a business email address. Gmail is fine. Just make sure I get to see all the contracts that come in for the brokerage. And our favorite one of all time is from the agent whose email address is bootymama6969@hotmail.com. I'm serious. There's an agent out there whose email address is bootymama6969@hotmail.com. That does not come across as honest and trustworthy. The Gmail account is free, y'all. So just set up a business Gmail account for yourself. And then do you have testimonials? And the right way to ask for them. Like when you ask for testimonials, say, what was your concern for the transaction? What was your result? How did I do? Because then you get a testimonial that really does talk to, this is, like this was my concern. I was afraid of this. And then, this is what really happened, and gosh, I couldn't have done it without Alan. That's a testimonial that people will read and like if you're gonna buy anything expensive on Amazon, what are you gonna read? Yeah, and somebody's gonna buy a house, what are they gonna read about you? Your reviews. So like for me personally, I believe reviews should be kept on my Google My Business page. That's where I like to keep them. But that's a great place to put it out there, but just how you ask for it really does matter.
Best time to ask for the review from a buyer out? Best time?
You're still working with.
At the closing table. At the closing table when they're excited, they're happy, they're about to receive their house, and it's because of you. So before all the heavy duty signing comes up, say, hey, do you mind doing this review for me? Most of my business is done by referrals. I hope you're happy with my service. Just 3 quick questions. And here they are right here. And they are more than happy, glowing reviews, because they're getting their home, and they'll be honest with you.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about, how important are lenders for us? They will make or break you, right? So what should you look for in a lender? Number one is responsiveness to you and responsiveness to your clients. Like if I call, what do I expect my lender to do? Answer and get back to me. If they don't answer, I expect a quick phone call back. Same thing for my client. Responsiveness is so crucial out there. I need bad news first. I don't need puppy dogs and rainbows, and I hope we can do this kind of stuff. Be straight up with me, be straight up with my client. No one wants to get drug out there and put offers on a property and then find out they don't qualify. So give me all the bad news up front. I need them to be as good at educating my client about the mortgage process as I am about the home buying process. So they have to be good good educators on there. We also need to encourage them to get all their documents in early. I need them to be knowledgeable. I need to have real pre-approvals. I don't need a piece of paper that's only as good as the ink that's written on it, kind of thing. I need to know that there are some lenders that will just like, yeah, here's pre-approval. Like, you don't even have their name. Like, all I gave you was their name. And they're like, yeah, you're good. I'm sure we're good. Like, that's not a pre-approval, right? Because I don't want to take you out if you can't go look at homes, really. If you can't afford it. I need that they can close on time. They need to have a variety of products out there. I want them to have good marketing support. I like local people because I need someone that I can look in the eye and be like, I'm gonna get you a head off. Like there's an accountability piece that really goes. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to point fingers at you. Like, huh? Yeah. I want them hungry, motivated, driven. I want them as driven as I am. I also want that they're going to assist me with winning the offer.
Yeah.
Like when I submit an offer, I need that loan officer to call the listing agent and say, hey, I've got the Smith's file. Everything's in order. It's looking great. We're going to be able to get through closing, no problem. I don't need them to share financial information, but I want them to help me win that offer. It's important to me. So this is a basic good comparison guide for the different types of mortgage products out there. You need to have just basic information. Again, I'm not trying to make you a lender, but who are the clients going to ask this kind of information about? You, right? So you can see, a conventional Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, they're virtually the same on here, kind of thing. Conventional, what's your credit score got to be?
620,
620. But the higher your credit score, what's that mean?
lower your interest rate.
Right, exactly. Now FHA says 500, is that true?
No.
Yes, it is 500, but then they have to have 10% down.
Oh,
And most people who need to go FHA, do they have 10% to put down? Why are you doing FHA? You only have to put 3.5% down. So generally speaking, a 580 is going to be a much more realistic number on there. 580 to 600, somewhere in that range, they can generally work with on there. VA says 500, and that is also true. But what that is, that's VA's rules. The different banks are going to have, the different lenders are going to have a different rule. Generally, 580 to 600 is going to be a factor. Your DTI is going to be very important in there as well. USDA, if you're going to be doing a zero USDA loan, you got to have at least a 620. So the higher the credit score, the better, right? So like that's what you really have to know. Down payments, my conventionals, 3.5, even up to 5 VA and USDA. I don't need any money down for those products. So when I have someone that's a more challenged buyer, and you can live outside of the city, what am I probably going to be starting to look for? USDA properties, right? And I want a lender who's going to be able to work with USDA. Or if I have a vet, that's another one that is in there. Your loan limits on there, so like 762, 420, that kind of stuff, that they change every year. VA says no limit, but VA is based. What's VA based on for my veteran? Well, you out. What the VA loan limit based on?
Your income.
Well, how much, and what your rank was in the military, right? A general is going to be able to qualify for more house than a private,
Yes.
kind of thing. On there, so USDA is going to vary by the counties in there. Income limits, that most of them are not going to have income limits when it comes to that. Your monthly insurance, mortgage insurance, that's going to vary depending on, are they putting 20% down or not? That's why you're going to see your conventional loans in there. FHA always has mortgage insurance with it for the life of the loan. VA never has mortgage insurance in there, and USDA also has mortgage insurance the entire life of the loan. Some have upfront funding fees, that kind of stuff. The rest of these are very specific for foreclosures and that kind of stuff, but generally, that's the vast majority of your loan products out there. And so you just need to know, and again, not know in great detail, I need enough to kind of help guide, advise, also to help me to be able to find the right lender to work with you. Because do all lenders work great with on VA loans?
No.
Some are really good, some are like, I can try. I don't ever want to do anything with a lender who says, I can try, right? Seriously, like this, like USDA, those kind of things, same thing with our down payments. Our down payment, being like, what do our lenders have, I mean, what do our buyers have to bring? This is a great thing to share with your buyers out there about, like, do they, and there's a lot, especially first time buyers, they're like, why do they gotta get all in my business? You know, like, do they have to get all in your buyer's business?
Yeah.
Yes, because they're loaning them a lot of money and they're gonna have to prove some stuff in here. Now, is it invariably burdensome on our buyers?
Yes.
No, I mean, like. I need a valid driver's license, a W-2 for the last year, tax returns for the last years, and 30 days of pay stubs. I need to see copies of your banking statements and any investments that you have. And then if you own a property, I need the information on the properties. Like, really, is that incredibly difficult? And if they know this up front, how much easier does it make it on your buyer if you share this with your buyer, what they've got to bring to the lender?
Well,
Yeah, it's important that we do talk about these things. Again, I'm not trying to make you a lender. But who are they coming to for this advice? Us.
This is the type of education that they need in your buyer presentation or your buyer meeting early on, because it may take somebody some time to gather all these documents together. And they need to know how serious it is, the process they're about to go through, and that you're knowledgeable enough about it, that you're sharing it with them up front.
And they won't get that house if they don't.
Right. I mean, is there any fiduciary, or is there any financial benefit for you using my lender? For me?
No.
No, but if I recommend somebody to you, it's because I know that they do what they say and they close loans. And they're gonna take care of you, they're gonna be responsive, that kind of thing. There's no kickbacks for me. Yeah. So, this is something I wanted to point out in particular right now, because we're seeing a lot more of this being done. 3-2-1s, 2-1 buy downs. Now, some of our builders are doing this, but we're seeing this kind of happen a lot more so here lately. And this is just to kind of explain what happens with a 3-2-1 or with a 2-1 buy down. And so with a 3-2-1 buy down, it just basically temporarily buys down your rate for the first couple of years out there. Because what do we think is going to be happening with interest rates over the next couple of years? Right? Interest rates follow inflation. What's happening with inflation? Lower inflation goes down, what's gonna happen with interest rates? They're gonna go down. So maybe I buy now, but if I have a 3-2-1, so in the first year, well, let me go back. From years 4 and over, I might have a rate of 8.25. Right? Because this is back, you know, like let's say we did this back in October of last year. We were close to this rate. Well, if I did a 3-2-1 in October, my first year would be 5.25. And so that's a payment of right at $2,000. Year 2, it's gonna be 6.25, and that's gonna be $2,200. Payment's gonna jump up a couple $100. Year 3, gonna jump up another $250. I mean, that's a $700 a month savings in there for the first year. Second year, it's about a $500 a month savings in there. And then what's the goal if your client is gonna do this? What's the goal that they wanna do before year 3? Refund, yeah. Yeah, that's the whole plan in doing that is that's what you want to do. But you know, that gives folks a chance to get in there. We're seeing a lot more 3-2-1s and 2-1s being done. They're also being done heavily. We're seeing complete rate buy downs, and we're seeing 3-2-1s and 2-1s in our new construction neighborhoods too. Now, some of them are buying down or doing buy downs, and some are buying the rate down for the entire term, depending on what it is.
Well, is it typically being done paid by the buyer or the seller?
It can be either.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we're seeing where a lot of sellers would rather offer a 3-2-1 or offer at credit rather than lower the price.
When I bought new construction home, when I bought mine, one of the things I negotiated was the builder to pay for it, to buy down 1%.
How much was it?
1%.
Well, yeah, but how much did it cost you?
The builder paid. for
Oh, the builder paid.
it.
for
Yeah,
it.
I
Okay,
negotiated the builder to pay for
yep, big deal, right?
Yeah.
And it saved you a lot of money.
it. It did.
Yep, and all I'm saying is that we want to be looking at these and talking to these folks out there about these kind of things. I don't need you to necessarily talk about this as much as I need you to know what it is. I just see a lot of agents that when I say, yeah, 3-2-1 buy down, 2-2-1 buy down, they glaze over, like they're like, you know, like I'm speaking some sort of alien language out there. So, I want to get through this as well here. So, yep.
Can I ask, what's the difference in the upfront payment amount and the amount that you save in the long run? So like, could you technically, if you were the buyer, could you technically pay your own buy
Yes.
down and save money, or is like?
It
is that-
depends, your lenders can give you that cost analysis for it, but generally speaking, it's gonna be the builder or the seller who's gonna be contributing some or all of that in there to make it more appealing for you as the buyer.
I was just
You
wondering.
can't, we see people buy down points all the time.
I was just wondering what's the benefit of taking the 3-2-1 buy down versus just taking the cash as a closing credit?
Most of the time it's because you get lower payments and because those sellers can pay that out. For most buyers themselves, they're gonna buy down the points for the entire term of the loan. They're not gonna do it, for most buyers, they're not gonna do it just for a 3-2-1 buy down. Most of your buyers are gonna do it just to buy it down for the entire loan term. All right, so let's talk about down payment assistance real quick. Because, we got lunch here coming, and so I'm just trying to get through these two slides and then we'll take lunch. So first thing is like, all right, no down payment, that's gonna be our VA and USDA. We already talked about that. Low down payment is gonna be FHA. Also, we have home ready and home possible options for on the conventional side. Now, we have a lot of DPA programs out there. So like Cross Country Mortgage has 2. You can also, the Chenoa Fund offers 3 or 5%, but those are loans, not grants. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. National has 1, Freddie Mac has a couple in there. Now, state ones that we have, Georgia Dream has a standard, which is 5% or $10,000. Whichever is a lesser amount, or the PEN program, which is for firefighters, emergency teachers, that kind of thing. And then they get 12,000 or 6%. Now, inside Atlanta, you have the IMAP program, which offers up to $20,000 in down payment assistance. And that's for in town Atlanta. Vine City has one that very similar. Clayton County has one for 10,000. Cobb County has 1, 2, or 3%, depending on the area and the type of, they have 3 different loan programs, and Gwinnett has up to $10,000. Now, there's a lot of DPA programs out there, but like, understand, they have strings attached. Not everyone is gonna qualify for down payment assistance. So like on there, it's gonna, the amount of down payment is gonna vary depending on the program. Some are gonna be grants and some are gonna be repayments. Like Georgia Dream, if you get a Georgia Dream down payment assistance, you have to pay the funding fee up front. And then you have to pay, when you sell that property, you have to pay the entire amount back as well. So like, let's say you get a $5,000 and it costs $1,500 on the front, really you got $3,500. And now you have to pay $5,000 back when you actually sell the home. Again. Most of them, I personally much prefer the down payment programs that are grants, because that's just money that they're giving to you. Sometimes they'll require that you live in it for a certain amount of time, that kind of stuff. Most of them are gonna have income limits, meaning you can't make too much money. So they're gonna have a limit on how much you can make. Some have geographic restrictions, meaning you have to be living in a certain area. Some you'll have to be a first-time buyer or will have not been able to own a home for the last 3 years. Many will have home buyer education requirements. You'll have to go through authorized HUD and get one of their programs. Some will have how much the purchase price can be. Almost all of them will have occupancy restrictions, meaning you won't be able to get any DPA for investment. You have to live in the properties that you're getting that through. Some will limit the type of properties, some won't do it for mobile homes and trailers, some won't do it for condos, that kind of stuff. They're all gonna have minimum credit scores, and they range between 620 and 680. Some of them have a minimum credit score of 680. So like, that's, like no one with bad credit is gonna be able to get a down payment program. I mean, like, y'all know what that program is for those people with bad credit? Cause there isn't one, alright? Credit's crappy, you're not gonna buy a house, right? It's just that's the bottom line, alright? They're also gonna have income minimums and maximums. They're gonna have debt to income. Your DTIs are gonna be a big factor for a lot of them in there. Some will have a requirement for how much cash that you're bringing, but will also have a requirement for how much cash you can't bring. Like you can only bring a certain amount. If you bring too much, that you won't qualify. And a lot of them will have how much you can afford total in there. So, you know, for our DPA programs, your buyer has to fit inside a box. They have to make at least this much, but can't make more than this. The home have to be this much, but can't be more than this. Their credit has to be at least this point. So there are a lot of restrictions that kind of go with that. But that doesn't mean that, you know, free money is still free money. And if you can help folks be able to do that, that's a real big win there. So.
All right,
We have lunch.
we do have lunch, but before we break for lunch, just wanted to introduce to you guys our lunch sponsors. This is Tyler, this is Victoria, and they're gonna talk to you about Piedmont properties. All right.
Property. Tell us about Piedmont.
Residential. I took one of your classes recently. I
Oh,
think.
good.
The
Was-
historic properties, is that what it was?
That wasn't me.
Was it you?
Yeah,
Looked like you.
Made someone who looked like me.
It looked like you.
Oh, okay.
I'm Victoria Masasi. I'm the on-site agent for Piedmont Residential here in Noonan. That's Tyler Wynn. He just recently joined our management team in the corporate office, which is up in Woodstock. We presently have 2 neighborhoods actively selling, just a couple miles from here, close to Ashley Park in Noonan. We have 10 left in our cottages at Browns Ridge neighborhood. That's going to be in the low to mid 3s. And then we're just opening a sister community across the street called the Retreat at Browns Ridge, and that's 76 homes from the mid 3s to the high 3s. We're around about 400. That's going to have master on the main opportunities where we did not have that at cottages. If you have any buyers that need 1 level living, we have that. We've been building and
Beaches?
well, 1 level living. means
Okay.
you're asking
You don't
upstairs,
have to
but
go
you can
upstairs.
be
Yeah, okay,
downstairs.
all right. I was about to say, nobody's building a ranch anymore.
It's closest thing we've gotten to it in a while. But we've been building in this county since 2010, and I've been fortunate enough to be their agent that long. So it's a great company. We've had a lot of happy homeowners, and we've dealt with a lot of great agents like you guys.
All right.
So there's information on both neighborhoods inside that package.
And we can share we also have a bunch of folks online, and so we'll share this with you guys online too. And so that you guys can see as well.
Right, we always have great incentives for buyers and sometimes some extra incentives for agents. We always pay 3%. Some builders are not paying 3% anymore. We have never not paid 3% to our co-op agents.
We
Right,
love you for that.
thank you.
Yes.
So we value you guys. Right now, we're actually paying 4% if you have a buyer that can close by the end of March. So if you've got immediate needs, we've got a 4% for you.
And we love you even more.
Yes.
How much standing inventory do you have?
We have 10 homes at the cottages and we have 2 that'll be ready in April at the retreat.
Yeah.
Our
And
first
they'll be
2.
Continuing after that. at the retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we constantly keep inventory. It's part of our thing.
And where are you located? Where is this? property?
So if you were go to Ashley Park, the little shopping mall in Noonan on the bypass, and you turned right there on McIntosh, which is where the gym is, that big gym.
Yes.
So that's McIntosh. If you turn right there, we're about half a mile.
So is it near that gun range?
The gun range, I'm not. No. So that's Millard Farmer.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're the wrong place.
You're close. You're close there. So yeah. So if you know where Ashley Park Mall is, where all that stuff is, the Dick's and all that. So we're kind of behind it. Super easy to get to, super close. About 1.5 miles to I-85, exit 47. So if you need to get anybody that needs to get to the airport, super easy.
And we're all around Metro Atlanta. I know we got people online watching as well, but all the way over in Dallas. We have multiple, communities as well as up in Dawsonville. So we're a little bit of everywhere, but we love it down here in Noonan, that's for sure.
Yeah, we've been about 300 homes a year. Company's been in existence since 2007. And great websites. If you have a buyer looking anywhere in the metro Atlanta region, just pop on the website. We do have an online concierge as well that can help you. But of course, we love to service you here as well.
Yeah. And, you guys have an approved lender that we need to use,
We-
or?
You do. So we actually are working on it. We just started that process. We're about 6 months into it. We have an in-house lender. So that means that person's literally stationed at our corporate office. So we can actually put our arms around the whole process and make sure everything's tidy and neat and on time for you guys.
It's
Um,
fun.
All right, let me be real honest with you about, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but like, you always, you basically have to use the in-house lenders. And because, one, they're always gonna get the people closed. And two, if you don't, it may cost your client their earnest money, and they won't be able to get any upgrades, generally speaking, and they're not gonna get closing costs in many cases. So
So the only
I
thing
can't
that-
speak
only-
necessarily to you, I'm just saying that
Yeah.
as a general rule, some folks feel very negative about it. I'm not negative because guess what all your in-house lenders at new construction do? Close. They all close. That's the big thing, right? And so some of these folks get into this whole debate about, like, this is how it is, right? It just is what it is. And
You have the option of using whatever lender your client's comfortable with.
but it will
That's
cost them.
100 for sure. You just wouldn't get the full incentive.
And so I'm not, that's not a pick on you. I'm just saying that that's how new construction is. If you're gonna work inside this space, you have to understand that kind of going into it. You're not doing your clients any service if you don't use the in-house lenders for all the new construction neighborhoods. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Anybody have questions on anything? You're all like, let's eat.
All right, all right, well, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna go have some lunch and
Thank
talk to
y'all
these
for
folks.
lunch.
So online, for the folks online, go make a sandwich.
All
So,
right, thanks for having us.
thank
We'll
you
get
very
out of
much.
here. We'll let you
Ooh,
eat.
chicken, we
See
like
y'all
that.
later. Bye, y'all.
That works.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break. It is, what are we now? We're 11:13, so what, 11:30, we'll jump back in. So. I think are we there yet? I still got a couple of minutes, so we're still eating here, and so. For the folks online, we haven't really started back up. I just let Sharon, our in-house lender, talk a little bit about mortgages and those kind of things. But like, I can't stress how much that our lenders will make or break us, kind of thing. It's probably one of your most important referrals that you're gonna make out there is because if they can't get you closed, they ain't gonna do you any good. Right? You can do everything right, but if they can't get you to the closing table, then you got nowhere else to go. Anybody got any questions about that? Since we're just gonna sit here chewing the fat for another minute or two? No. You're eating your cookies.
I'm about to tear it up.
All right, good. Eat that cookie. All right.
Chick-fil-A.
See, for those of you online, should come in class. You could have got some of the guys chicken too. So, all right, well, I'm gonna start rolling here. And just gonna keep going. So I have two questions though. First one says, I have an FHA mortgage and and my mortgage insurance was dropped after 12 years. You used to be able to drop FHA mortgages that were before a certain, I don't remember the exact year, but there was a point where all of a sudden, all our FHA mortgages now all have mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. FHA mortgages in the past were not that way. And then we got sound back on that because they couldn't hear before. So if you did have an old FHA mortgage, you might have been able to get rid of the mortgage insurance, but it just kind of depends. Sorry. My things are flying around all off me here, sorry. All right, let's try and get moving again. So, all right. We also have the opportunity to look at HUD homes. HUD still has a $100 down program as well as the Good Neighbor Next Door program. Those are very, very special and very, very limited. HUD homes may be a viable option for some of your buyers because it is an owner occupied program, right? You have to live in the HUD home that you buy. But the idea that HUD home is a bargain or a deal anymore, they aren't the HUD homes of yesteryear. They are very much fair market now. So. Next, we have all these are different lead generation ideas. Generation, yeah, lead gen ideas that we can, that you can use. This is not a class on lead generation, but by the same token, I didn't want to leave you without some form of different lead gen processes that you can do. You know, with all your lead gen, like they always result in going back to your database. These are all sites that you can go and sign up for 70, 30, 60, 40 referrals in there kind of thing. So you want to review, you know, because you are going to have to do different things in order to generate leads, buyer leads. All those are different buyer lead programs that you can do. But when you generate those leads, then everything goes in and out of your database, in and out of your CRM. So you mark it out to your clients through your CRM. You call the clients that you want to reach out through your database. They respond to you. When they respond to you, where does that go? Into your database kind of thing. You share property updates through your database. Every one of your clients should have a property search set up. And after the data I shared with everybody today, how important is it that you have property searches set up for all your clients, right? Because what do they want? Find me a house, right? Exactly. Also, your database should be setting up, lead through searches and landing pages. It's going to send out text for you and respond to your text messages, emails, newsletters. Everything goes in and out of your database. But when you generate a lead, you're generating a lead so that that person goes into your database and then you engage with them inside your database. That's the entire process of how it all works together. And if you can tie in like I said, your property searches through there, it's a really good deal. So now the phone starts ringing. What do?
Answer it.
Look, I can't explain to you how big a deal this is. We live on our phones and so many of us don't show any love to our phones. Like I'm standing in the office, an agent starts complaining about these listing agents never answer their phone. I've tried to set up 3 appointments and no one answers their phone. Her phone rings, she looks at it, puts it back in her pocket and keeps complaining. Right? So it's like we like to talk about, a lot of real estate agents don't answer their phone, then we turn around and do the same thing. Answer your phone. Unknown numbers, answer your phone, right? Do you know the phone number of anyone who might be interested in using you for your services?
No.
You don't, so answer your phone. That's the big deal. If it does that whole click thing, just hang up then, but answer your phone.
Scam likely?
Huh?
Scam likely?
I still answer.
How much does it cost you to block a number after you answer it and it's a scammer? Cost nothing. I haven't been charged yet, so
Yep.
just answer it. My CRM dialer number comes up as scam likely because it starts with 573. So if that's gonna happen to my clients, then the same thing could happen to me. I answer it. If it's a scam, I block it and I go on about my day. I have not missed a call.
All right. So all your clients, I know I'm definitely like jumping up and down on the soapbox here. So all your clients and your prospects need to get set up on an automated search, preferably in your database, but it can be in Georgia MLS or FMLS kind of thing. This also gives you a great reason to reach out to everybody in your database. I just want to make sure I'm sending you the types of properties that you really want to see. A lot of times the properties on some of these online portals are out of date. They're not always the most accurate. I'll send these to you every week or whatever. I recommend that you send everybody in your database a week, that it should go out weekly for all your prospects. More often for your clients who are seriously engaged or looking for value property, like anyone looking for a house of, $150,000, how quickly are those houses gone? So you got to do those right away, that kind of stuff. If you have somebody like, we've got to move, then you need to send those more often. And then you want to go in and monitor when people are opening up those alerts, right? You want to call and make sure that their search parameters are correct. You want to text them and make sure they're getting the right information. You want to call and say, hey, I see you're looking for property. Do you want to set up a showing? This is your tell. like when I send you properties and you start looking at them, what are you ready to do? Right, I mean, we saw it in the data back there. What's someone most likely to do when they're ready to start buying? Looking at properties. And so if I'm sending you properties and you start looking at them, what's that tell you? Now they've decided it's the right time to buy. So now we want to also make sure that we're converting those prospects actually into clients. And the whole idea here is that most agents are gunslingers. We just wing it. All right, I got a buyer. Pew, sell it. Pew, first time buyer. Pew, pew, pew. We just, like whatever. We just kind of take it as it goes along, kind of thing. And what I want to encourage you is to have a system that you use, a way that you annoying the crap out of me. That you can be very consistent and you know what your process is. Instead of just winging it every single time, what's your process? And so this is my process, right? So when we get a buyer prospect, first thing we do, we make a phone call. It's our get to know you kind of thing that we're doing. I'm talking, they're talking. I want to make sure that we kind of vibe and match up. While I'm talking to them, I'm going to enter them into my database or into the MLS while I have them on the phone. Why is that important that I do it while I got them on the phone? Well, once I hang up the phone, what am I doing? Everything else. Like it just gives you, it's a great thing to be able to do. Also, I have everything I need to be able to put all those parameters in there. And then I'm going to send them property updates. Like I said, 1 or 2 a week, depending on the situation. And then before I hang up with them, what do I ask for?
Appointment.
Say it loud, say it proud.
An appointment.
An appointment, right? Because 2/3 of all appointments end in a transaction, right? So the more appointments that you get, the more you win. So that's my very first phone call. Next time that I speak to them, now it could be day 2, it could be 4 days later, but the next time I call them, I'm going to have a brief conversation about mortgages. I'm going to send them over a list of the lenders. I want to make sure that they're pre-approved. Anytime that I'm calling after I've already had my initial call, I always follow up with whatever happened the time before. So on the second time I talk to them, what I'm always going to start off with, have you been getting my property updates? You know, do we need to change anything? Then we're going to jump over into the lenders and we're going to make sure that they're pre-approved or they're going to get pre-approved. And again, can you come into my office? Can we meet at a property? That kind of stuff. Next time I talk to them, I'm going to start off with, hey, have you been pre-approved? Did you meet with a lender? Do you need to get an appointment with them? Do you want me to bring them along? I'm going to send them my app. I'm going to, hey, I'm texting you my app right now. So when you're out and about looking for properties, you know, you can open this up, look at the different properties, see the pictures, see the price. And if you want to see it, there's a button that says contact agent and I'll meet you there. I'm also going to talk about new construction and the importance of having an agent during new construction. And then again, leave the appointment. Day 4, again, it could be 4 days later, it could be later on. Hey, are you ready to go out looking for properties? You know, have you been using the app that we did last time? Are you ready to go look at? Can we go this weekend? You know, do we need to change anything about the search parameters? All my conversations from that point forward are just when do they want to go see houses, that kind of thing. Now, you can say, look, Alan, first thing I do is I talk about mortgages, and that's fine if you have a system. What I find is that most people have no system. So you can say, look, Alan, your system's wrong. And that's totally fine with me. At least I got one. So like decide what you want to do and then go do it. Now, one thing I do like about this, can I push this all into one appointment? Yeah. If I meet you face to face, what am I doing anyway? All that anyway, kind of thing. So like I can spread this out. I can stretch it together. The average cold lead needs 6 touches before they're ready to engage with you. The average agent only calls a person back once. So having a system like this, I build a lot of touches into this thing. Again, leave with the appointment. I know I keep talking about it, but it's so important that don't make your clients beg you to meet them. I see a lot of agents that kind of wait around for their client to say something, because they don't want to be pushy, they don't want to be salesy. You are not being pushy and salesy, saying, can we meet you, can we meet at the house, can we meet in person, can you come to my office? It's important that we do that. You don't sell any houses over the phone, virtually, that kind of stuff. You've got to meet them face to face. And it's important that we do that. Now, once you do set up that appointment, you know, you want to go in there and say, you know, are you renting or do you own? Why don't I want to know that? Well, maybe I got a house to sell. That'd be a great thing for me, right? What area they want to be in, you know, style, bedrooms, bathrooms. Have they got a price range? And how'd they come up with that? What do I need to know here? Like, are they being realistic? Because some folks like, yeah, I'm looking for $300,000. But have you spoken to a lender yet? Because your $300,000 may be right or wrong, you don't, because are they buying on price or payment? They're buying on payment, so make sure that they understand that. Do I want to ask them, how much down payment do you have to work with? Why? Yeah, well, first of all, yes. I'm not getting in their financial history. I don't want a copy of their credit report, but do I need to know what I'm working with?
Yes.
Like, if you don't have any money to put down, well, maybe we've got to be looking, I mean, we just talked about this, right? Where would I need to direct them then?
Down payment assistance.
DPA, maybe we look at USDA home. Are you a vet? Are you a veteran? You know, like at this point, I know, but I see a lot of times agents just don't want to say, don't like, I realize that we're getting into their personal business. But like, you're gonna be involved with a personal business and I need to know what I'm working with. So ask about how much down payment they have to put in. How soon are they looking to buy? I ask them this, why? Because sometimes they have no idea what they're talking about. We've had folks who are like, you know, I thought, you know, next couple of weeks. Sorry, unless you got a lot of cash, we are not buying a house in 2 weeks, right? That's not normally how it's gonna go, kind of thing. So I need to know if they're nuts and also I want to make sure I meet expectations, but if I don't know what expectations are, I'm not gonna be able to meet them or exceed them, kind of thing. So, you know, set up your appointment time, confirm where it is, confirm your appointments, confirm it again and again and again, because just like Mark was talking about earlier, what happens when you don't confirm appointments?
You drive all the way to Lizella, and you look at the house by yourself.
Yeah.
But this is hugely important, guys, because of what we talked about earlier this week. Last week. This is the basic information that you need to put in your CRM to help them find a home. And if you get it before you go on the appointment, then you look like the wizard when you show up with, ta-da, we're looking at this house that you asked about, but here's another list of homes that are near this home that are just like what you're looking for. So you want to be like the most informed person in the room when you're talking to them, and that will show your value.
Now, you're gonna have to handle objections, but all objections are just questions, but how you handle them really does matter. Some folks, their shoulders rise up and they start taking stuff really personal. Don't. When you have objections, first of all, restate what that objection is, because you're showing two things. One, I'm showing I'm listening to you, so I repeat the question back, but when I repeat the question back, it gives me time to think about the answer. So it makes it much easier. Sometimes you can also isolate it. All right, if that's our only issue, do we have anything other than this? Because if that's our only issue, then let's just deal with that. I just want to make sure that's the only issue. Now we're able to move forward. Sometimes we have to just cushion things. Like what's the number one thing that our buyers give on? Price. Is that fun? No. So we have to kind of cushion that. We have to show some empathy on there. At some point, you have to just say, this is how we move forward on here. And then we just like, all right, are you ready to get this paperwork going? Now, some of our more common ones out here, you know, can you just send me some listings? Well, I can send you hundreds of listings, but it's not a matter of sending listings. You can look up listings on Zillow, right? But like if you'll come in, we can actually sit down, because I want to make sure that I help you find the perfect home for you and your family, kind of thing. And so I'm gonna push hard for an appointment on here, not to be pushy, but that I know I can do a better job that way. How about we're just looking? You ever hear that one? We're just looking means I don't know you. I don't like you yet. I don't trust you yet.
Like that.
It's true, right? And so if somebody says, we're just looking, look, at this point, ask questions. Right? Don't try and push for things. Hey, I mean, that's really good. How many homes have you looked at so far? What's interesting for you for this home? This home's located next to the interstate. Are you trying to be next to the interstate? This is all about building rapport. Don't try and push on at this point. What you want to push for or what you want to try for is relationship building. You have to go to being trusted, and they don't trust you yet. That's all they're telling you right there is I don't know you, I don't trust you. How about we're not ready to work with an agent yet? Exact same thing. I don't know you, I don't trust you. I see things on the internet about you guys and you all seem shady, right? Like, we got to make sure we got these things. How about our credit isn't good enough? When's the last time you checked? Your lender will pull your credit for free, won't cost you anything, and they'll also be able to tell you what you might need to do in order to get into that position. So like, I always push that. The other thing I really like is I like to do what's called a warm transfer. Like if you say, here's my lender, call them. Do they ever call?
No.
Or if I say, I'm gonna have my lender call you, do they answer? No. So what you do is you say, while I got you on the phone, we're gonna call the lender and I'm gonna transfer you directly to them. And then I'm gonna back off. And then that way you can keep this conversation going. It's a really, really powerful way to move forward on there. How about, we all know work with a listing agent? Well, first of all, who does the listing agent represent?
The seller.
The seller. And the seller is going to be their client. And even if the buyer's their mama, the seller is still their client. And you're gonna be their customer. And so they're gonna, like, they have to put the interest of the seller first. Is that really who you want representing you in the most expensive transaction of your life? I don't. So like I think you need someone that's on your side there. We don't want to sign a buyer agreement. Go ahead.
I always get them with the buyer agreement and about talking to them, I'm like, hey, we're going into people's homes, you know what I'm saying? There's a big liability of doing this. They don't know who's in here, so we fill this out. I do represent you going in here, so we're just trying to keep everybody safe, you included, and then also the seller.
And you can go that route, sometimes folks will say, I offer a free home warranty. Some folks will kind of do the hard sell. I can't show you homes. I won't do that. That's not really where I prefer to go. For me, I prefer to go the route of providing value first. Like to ask someone to sign a buyer brokerage agreement before I've shown any value to them is not a good play for me. And I know a lot of agents kind of put it out there, and there's a couple of reasons. So for me, I always want to provide value first. I want to show you and explain to you what we're going to do. I want to be able to educate, teach, and inform them. I'm going to follow my buyer's presentation, even line by line, and go all the way down through how I do real estate, which is why I push for an appointment. I'm always going to push for an appointment because in that appointment, it's not about the hard sell. Yes, I do know that 2/3 of my appointments are going to end in a transaction. So that's definitely good for me. But the other thing is my appointment is a chance to educate, teach, inform, and build trust and rapport with my clients. And so you need to have a buyer's presentation. This is how I do real estate. This is what I do to help you find the perfect home in here. Now, what makes up a buyer's presentation? There's a lot of things that you can decide. We're going to go through the list, but on this list, you can't do it all. So you have to decide, this is what's important to me. This is my value proposition. This is how I stand out. This is what I'm amazing at. And so all of them are gonna have something about you, your bio, mission statement, that kind of stuff. Some things that should definitely talk about needs, wants, desires in there. Some will have reviews, team bios, talking about the different members of the team or partners they have, taglines, unique selling propositions. Do have, it's okay to talk about your company, but it shouldn't just be about your company. I see some that I saw one in the first 14 pages are all about the company. that's out of line in there kind of thing. Are you gonna be an individual or a team approach? What's better?
Whatever you're better at.
Look, I have folks all the time that go up against Mark Spain and win, because you know what? I'm gonna handle that for you. And then we also have several teams, and you know what? I got a guy for that, or I got a girl for that kind of thing. And so it's whichever it is, work it on there, own it. CMAs, some will do that. How I handle confidentiality, what do I do with like brochures, flyers, apps, automatic searches, reverse prospecting? Do you have local offices? Do you get premier exposure? Do you use the internet? Inventory levels, are you a realtor or not? You know, do you do pay per click? Do you do, what do you do about home warranties? Do you do an open house or going away parties? Do you get, you know, you should always talk something about getting pre-approval in the buyer process. How about new construction, pricing assistance, the contract, earnest money? This is a laundry list, by the way, if you're wondering. Feedback, communication, how to determine the price of the properties, timelines, goals, inspections, appraisals, final loan, the closing, representation, who do we represent, signage, social media, do you offer a rebate program, do you offer a guarantee, and then a buyer brokerage agreement. Like all these you have to decide what makes you special. Why should somebody work with you? You can't do everything on that list. It's ridiculous to look at that. So you have to say, this is what makes me stand out. This is what's special. This is what's important for me to do that. So like, you want to go in and design it. You want to look at like, what's an investment for me versus what's a cost? Like, what's the difference between an investment and a cost?
Some investment's gonna make you money.
Yep. Exactly. Cost is just a cost in there kind of thing. So decide what you want to do, what makes special, be prepared to do what you say, use checklists. You can do visual, I mean, you can make it visually appealing, and then like these are, and it's online too, you can see it online as well. Make a mess, and it's okay, just write it off.
Something for me? Yeah, no.
So these are buyer presentations from other agents, and they're all different. I just none of them are local agents, because that would be super crappy to do. But these are other agents who went, and, they're all different. You're not looking at the same thing. They're all different.
Okay.
And
I just
so,
thought we'd pass them around.
well, you can, but you might want to, you're not gonna see the ones you just passed, because they're all different. But the whole idea here is that these are agents who looked at their market, looked at what they do and what they specialize in, and then they laid it out and said, this is how I do real estate. And like you want to decide what that is. And so for us, like this is our buyer's presentation, our buyer's guide for what we do, all the way through. So we have the whole thing kind of put together as well in there. But you need to have a presentation and put it together. Some of your brokerages have them, like this is the one for the brokerage here. So we have this for all the partners agents that they can use for a buyer's presentation if they want to. Now you can go make your own, you can use an existing one, you can copy any of these. All these are online. So for the folks in class, please, you can find them all online. I've got them all saved on there. Don't steal my book because I use them in class. So, but these buyer presentations is important, because you want to be able to come prepared for your appointment. Like people ask, what happens? Like, what do I say when somebody asks if I'm new? What do I say if somebody asks how many transactions I've done? And the lame answer is nobody asks me. Right? And part of it could be, well, you're old, Alan. I get that, right? But it could be that I know what I'm talking about. I speak with conviction and authority. I also come incredibly prepared. And when you can speak with conviction and you come prepared to a buyer's appointment, they're not going to ask you either. I don't care how long you've been in the business. So I make folders. I know this sounds. Now, let me back up. I make folders. Is this old school?
It is.
This is gloriously old school. Ain't nothing wrong with it either, okay? So I make 10 of these up at a time. And so, there you go, I'll let you start looking at this one, I'll send this one down the other way. So like in my folder. I have. Well, we'll kind of go through here. So we would always keep about 10 of these up ahead of time. And so in here, I've got 2 copies of my exclusive buyer brokerage engagement agreement. Why do I have 2 copies? Because I didn't bring a photo machine, I didn't bring a copy machine with me, so this way we can sign 2, they keep 1, I bring 1 with me, right? I also have my buyer's presentation. That whole buyer's presentation, it's all in here. So I have what I need to sit down and I'm gonna go through section by section, turn and flip and explain how I do real estate. And it's already here in the folder with me. I'm also gonna have, like, every office has that area with all the vendor information in it. I put that in my folder. One, these may be services that they need, these may be vendors that I partner with, but also, how prepared do I look? Like, who came to play today, right? Right? I'm gonna have all my lenders' information, I'm gonna have my business cards in here. Because when I sit down to go over a buyer's presentation with you, I've got my folder, 2 copies of my buyer brokerage agreement, I have my buyer's presentation, what I'm gonna go through, I have everything I need for my appointment. So if I'm meeting you at Chick-fil-A or I'm meeting you at my office, I have exactly what I need to be able to go through with you and tell you and show you, this is how I do real estate. This is why you should work with me. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
And is there anything wrong with old school? Look, I love it. I do this for a couple of reasons. One, not everybody does it. Makes me very, very prepared for the appointment. When I get there, I've got my ducks in a row. Now, some folks go the digital plan and you can do that, but just be cautious of like you're gonna find that your younger buyers may be much more open to that, but your older buyers may not have that much. Also, make sure that you've done your market research. You understand what the neighborhood values are, the values, the school in that area, that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that before you come, you've got some good basic information about what's the overall value range in this area, that kind of stuff. You want to become prepared. At that appointment, you're going to have to talk about buyer agency. So does buyer agency make any sense?
Not to people outside this room.
No, that's the thing we have to understand, right? Buyer agency says they're gonna pay you, but you're gonna work for me. Anybody believe that? Well, but that's what the basis of buyer agency says. Oh, you don't have to worry about it. And for years, agents said, you know what? I work for free. The seller pays me. Is that really true?
No,
Who pays?
Buyer.
So what's our?
they're both back.
Well, when you go to closing, who's buying the house?
Buyer.
What was included in that purchase? Were commissions included in that? Would you have gotten a commission if they hadn't bought the home? So who paid the commission? But it may be agreed to in there. Look, we have to understand that, right? And so all the buyer's agreement is, buyer brokerage agreement is a contract between a home buyer and an agent that defines how we're gonna work together. Please don't overcomplicate this. All we're agreeing to is term, types of agency, basically who we're gonna represent, compensation, our broker and agent duties, our responsibilities, the buyer duties, and then we're also gonna make sure we always share our brochures. See, like, this is our exclusive buyer brokerage engagement agreement. And we have to be very conscious of it. In here, we're gonna put all the types of dates, the term of our agreement. We're gonna put in here the types of agency that we offer. Now, also, on your guard forms, it says this is the type of agency that we do not offer. Make sure you check that right. But have you guys read the actual part where it talks about commission? It's freaky. We're gonna read the contract. How about that? Now, this is a GAR contract for real. So it says buyer agrees to pay broker the commission set forth below at the closing of the contract of purchase. Entered in during the term of this agreement, minus any commission paid to broker by either the seller's broker or the seller. Buyer acknowledges that neither the seller nor the seller's broker are obligated to pay any commission. Right?
Right.
So then, now you say, this is how much I charge. When you're doing a buyer brokerage agreement, what you're basically saying is, these are the services I provide, these are the fees that I charge. You have a very hard time getting this signed if you haven't talked about the services you provide first. If you come in and you do your entire buyer's presentation, this is how I do real estate, this is everything I'm gonna do with you. All the care and everything I'm carrying all the way through with you through from the beginning to the end of this transaction. These are the fees that I charge. Now, it's customary that that seller pays all or some of it, but they may pay none of it. And so we need to be able to have that conversation with them.
When they ask, well, when will I know if I have to pay it or not? Like, how am I gonna know the seller's gonna pay?
Well, we're getting there. Okay, so you're just ahead of me, so we're getting there. So first of all, when you're getting ready to do this, you always have to overcome objections. So handling kind of questions they have, it should be very much no pressure. Right, because a buyer brokerage agreement, again, this is just dictating how we're gonna work together. So don't get super stressed out there. You're gonna talk about agency, who you represent. Again, make sure you talk about value before you talk about fees. So this is the value I'm bringing. These are the fees I charge. And then there are some instances where the seller's not gonna offer compensation. What do we do about that? Well, first of all, like for my VA buyers. Can a VA buyer pay a commission?
No.
No. So for those sellers not offering any co-op, they won't be able to get a VA buyer because they can't pay their commission. The VA buyer cannot pay the agent's commission. It has to be the seller or nobody. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, do you only want to see properties that cover my commission? Is one definite way to go. You have the ability, maybe you're paying cash. You can pay that at closing, and maybe you do have to pay that at closing, if that's what we choose to do. Or we can request that the seller pay before we ever show the property. And for us, we're gonna use Form F-258, because that's what we're gonna use before we show the property. Or we can request that for the seller to pay with the offer. When we submit an offer, we're gonna use special stipulation 619 or 620, depending on the situation. And request for the seller to pay as part of the offer. Now, depending on the loan type, we also may be able to roll that into closing costs. So an FHA mortgage, I can have 6% closing costs. The buyer may only need 3%, we can use 3% to cover the commission. So that now FHA commission only lets you have 3%. But it just so we have a lot of options here. But like first of all, like the big one in here, can we request the seller to pay with the offer? Because up until the Sitzer Burnett trial here in Georgia, we said that, you know what? You can't request a seller to pay contingent on the contract. So how can we do that then? We can only do that for the benefit of the buyer. And what I mean by that is, if Mark is my buyer client, and Mark doesn't have any money to pay out of his pocket for my commission, then he and I have to be able to negotiate to his benefit. What's required for me to be able to negotiate for Mark's benefit?
Representation.
A buyer brokerage agreement. If I don't have a buyer brokerage agreement, then I can't request the seller to pay, because that's to my benefit, not to the benefit of my buyer. I need to be able to negotiate to the benefit of my buyer, and that doesn't happen unless I have a relationship, an agency relationship with that buyer. So no buyer brokerage agreement, are you supposed to be able to negotiate commission?
No.
But if I'm negotiating for the benefit of the buyer. Now, notice I keep saying that because it's important. If I said, look, I need this commission for me, I can't do that. But if I say, to the benefit of the buyer doesn't have cash to bring at closing. For me, I need this wrapped up so he can finance it into the term of his loan. That's what I need to be able to do. But I can't negotiate that if I don't have a buyer brokerage agreement. Are you with me? This is a big deal here. So like, in here, this is F-258, the co-op commission to be sent prior to showing. Or I have my two special steps, 619 and 620. So this is where the buyer requests seller to pay broker's commission on a VA loan, or just the buyer requests the seller to pay broker's commission. Both these special steps I can use. I can only use these special stipulations if I have what?
Buyer brokerage.
If I have a relationship with my client. Because if I don't have a relationship, then it's for my benefit. So I know I keep talking about it, but like, this is a big deal. Why we need to have buyer brokerage agreements in advance. Before, like too many agents, we see the same thing come in where I see an offer and I see a buyer brokerage agreement at the exact same time. Instead of having it in advance. How were you able to negotiate that commission if you didn't have it before you placed the offer? Y'all with me?
Yeah.
So please understand that is vitally important. It's really, really crucial. Now, newer agents have no problem with this. I'm talking to my folks online, because old dogs like me, used to be like, they're gonna pay a commission, no big deal. Is that the case anymore?
No.
And so there's a lot of old school agents who are just like, I don't worry about a buyer brokerage agreement. Look, you're not able to negotiate then, or you're not supposed to negotiate because you don't have an agent relationship with them. So before they leave, gather all your contact information for all your decision makers in there. Ensure the client search details are set up in your property search right. Share the app that you have with your clients. Do a warm transfer with the lender, and then give them that buyer's folder with a copy of their signed paperwork, business cards, home buyer packet, and any vendor information. Basically, everything that you brought. But all you're gonna do is you're gonna take your copy of the buyer brokerage agreement out, and they get to keep everything else. It has all that information, talking about the home buying process and what you did. So when you go to an appointment and you brought your folders and you've got all this together and you've explained your value, do you think that they're gonna say, are you new? Nobody says, are you new when you come into this? And then have you also proven value in advance? And now do you feel like for me, we don't have a problem getting buyer brokerage agreements signed because we provide value in advance. That's the big kicker here. Yes, sir.
I think too, like you going into detail and explaining them why the importance of that is so big and then tell them what you're doing. I don't think they worry about the fees at that point, because then they kind of understand what they're getting, what's they're paying.
Well, also when you can say, look, I'm here to work for you, right? I know that the vast majority of my buyers need to be able to wrap up their agent's commission in their mortgage payments. That most folks don't have that money to pay up front. I'm gonna work with you to do that. One, because I need to get paid, this is what I do. But two, I want to make sure that this is not an undue hardship on you. I care about you, right? But I can't work with you without an agreement. Y'all with me? Okay, because it's super important. Once you ask for referrals, when do you ask for a referral? While you're working with them. Yep, it's important. Look, their friends are saying, what's it like to work with this person? What are you doing in the home buying? How are you finding your houses? Have you met a lender? Like all those kind of things. Ask while you're in the transaction with them. It's crucial. So when it comes to the showing process, locate your properties. For sure, use the MLS, that kind of stuff. Warn them about for sale by owners. We want to warn them about for sale by owners.
They're not using an agent.
Well, they're not
Yeah,
using
they're
it
not
because they
gonna-
know how much their home is worth.
No.
No, they have Zillow. How good that work for Zillow? Zillow couldn't even use it, right? So expired listings, what's expired listings? What's another word for expired listings?
Failure.
Overpriced, yeah. Withdrawn listings, we have no idea whether they're withdrawn. Auction, sometimes folks want to buy it at auction. That's a very specialized thing. Auctions and courthouse. That's not for the faint of heart. And by the way, there's no commissions included in any, in those in most cases kind of thing. So, but you want to be able to go out, help them find the property again, use your database or the MLSs, that kind of stuff, help them find those properties. Before you go out and look at the property, map it out, make your appointments. Use common sense on how long it's gonna take you to get from one place to another. Map your route out ahead of time. We can share that through Google Maps with our clients in advance, or we can even share our locations through there. Go out and show. Everybody's got their own style. Figure out what's yours. Some of y'all are gonna be like Vanna White of real estate, right? The other ones, you know, like, the big thing when you show a house, never walk in the door first. Okay, this is not just for ladies, but like, don't go in the basement first, don't open the door and walk in. You open the door, you step back, because you do not want to put your back to clients. You don't know what kind of creepy people are out there. Just be smart. Don't go into, you know, like you don't feel comfortable, listen to yourself on that. For me, I stand back, I kind of keep an eye on everything. I'll point out anything that needs to be identified, that kind of thing. I'm there to answer questions. That's kind of my style. Always discuss canceling with your clients. When you make appointments with sellers, like, it's a very personal thing for a seller to open their house. Treat that with the respect that deserves. If you're gonna cancel, make a phone call, explain what happened, that kind of thing. You know, keep things in your car. 2 flashlights, 2 umbrellas, those kind of things, paper towels, tissues, all the kind of stuff that you need. You never know when you're gonna have snotty-nosed kids riding along with you, that kind of stuff. Bottled waters and that kind of stuff goes a very, very long way when you go out showing property, especially if you're showing multiple breath mints. Look, sometimes you need to give a mint to a client. If you don't have mints, I'm telling you. Because you can't just be like, man, you got dragon breath. You just say, hey, you want a mint? It's much easier to go that way. Look, this is real world talking, okay? All right. Set expectations before the showings, right? What is the purpose of showing property?
So they can buy one.
To make offers. Like, before I take you on a showing, these are the houses that we're gonna go look at today. If you like one of these, we're gonna submit an offer today. I'm not here to be your personal chauffeur. I'm not here to show you the hills of Noonan kind of thing and what's really, you know, like there may be a time when some buyers need that kind of thing, but generally speaking, if we're going looking at houses, my expectation is that we're writing an offer today. And you need to set that expectation up front, because some of your clients will be like, what are we looking at tomorrow? Like, no, this is not me just driving you around town, right? Like, no, I'm not here just to buy lunch and go look at pretty houses with you for the week. A lot of your clients will want that friendship and that's fine. Go be friends with them, but do it on your own time. Why do we show property? To write offers. Please keep that in mind. It is so vitally important that you do that. Now, when I do this, before I go, first of all, I set the expectations. The other thing I do is I get a folder and I print out the 1-page report for every property that we're gonna go see. So I make copies for my buyers to make notes on, and then we get to the first property, I give them the folder. Every time we go to a different house, we give that house a name. House with a cat, you know, green shutters, it doesn't matter. Because after you've looked at 3 or 4 houses, you don't remember the first house at all. Give it a name, have them write notes on that property as they go through. The other thing we do is we use the benchmark method, which means that whatever is their favorite property goes to the front of the page, the front of the stack. So when we get done showing properties, what's right at the very top?
Their favorite,
And what are we gonna make an offer on?
their favorite one.
Yeah, that's my expectation going into it, right? And so if not, then you just turn into, you know, the education, I mean, the entertainment guy. You're just going to have a good time looking at pretty houses with people. And that doesn't pay the bills.
Right.
Right, so please, I know it sounds simple, but the purpose of showing properties is to write offers. Bottom line. So you can go digital or old school, like you can go in through a lot of databases, like you can print off the MLS sheets, or I can also pull this, like this is directly out of our KV Core kind of thing. I can select all the properties, get the one-page reports that they're gonna write on, has the pictures in it, that kind of stuff, as well as a listing on here of everything that we're gonna go do. Yeah, with me?
I just said, okay.
Okay, all right, are you gonna take them out to eat?
No.
Maybe.
Coffee or lunch, no dinner,
Well-
and the first time, not every time.
Well, it depends on when you schedule your appointments. Like if we go and looking at houses starting at 11 o'clock, what am I buying?
Lunch.
Lunch, yeah. If we out looking at houses at 6 o'clock at night, what am I probably buying?
Dinner.
Dinner, right? So if I go at 1 o'clock, what do I expect?
Hops.
I expect you should have eaten before we come, all right? 'Cause we got appointments to go to. I'm serious, like I'm setting my appointments up back to back to back to back, right?
Yeah.
One of
So-
those books, that's what she put in her notes, to eat lunch prior to the showing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. want
But
to-
like, it depends on when you schedule. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with buying lunch for your clients, but like. I don't have to. Well, the other thing is like, you just added an hour and a half in a lot of cases, at least an hour to the time of you showing. And a lot of times you've got showings every 30, 40 minutes kind of thing, and it'll really screw you up. So, once your client falls in love with the property, go over the comps, the comparable sales together. Why do you look at the comps together?
Make sure it's priced, you know, a good fair amount.
Yes, but the other thing is like, when I sit down with you, so let's say Mark's my client, excuse me, we're playing footsie. But let's say Mark's my client, and we find a house and it's listed for 425. And I pull up and I say, all right, Mark, let's look at these properties. This one here sold for 437. This one sold for 460. This one sold for 422. This one sold for 433. Gosh, there's nothing in here that sold under 417 in the last year. And Mark says, man, I was hoping we could offer 400. You can see that no houses have sold in here under 417 in the last year. Now, if I don't go through that exercise and I say, I think we need to make a full price offer, and Mark says, well, I was thinking 400. Because I'd like to get this for 400. Well, I understand, but when I let the numbers speak for myself, when I let the numbers show him out there, makes it real hard for him to say, well, I was thinking 400. And if you don't do that, then you end up into this like, cause I said so thing, like, you know, I think 425 is better. Cause I said so, right? You know, like, and you can do the whole, I'm the expert kind of thing, but really, let the numbers speak for themselves. I don't want my buyer to spend a penny more than they have to, but I also want my buyer to be able to get the house. And so let your comps do the work for you.
The other thing that we found, Alan, is that, we tell the buyer that the listing agent is looking at these same comps, and that's how they price the house. So they're gonna probably refuse your offer if it's that low. That's kind of an insult, and that's kind of block your negotiating with them.
Let the comps do the work for you. So determine your offer price, close date and terms, home warranty, terminal letter, that kind of stuff. Get a loan commitment letter from your lender. Me personally, I want whatever price that I'm offering to match my commitment letter. Because if you, as a listing agent, you send me an offer under asking, and you send me a commitment letter amount up to, I'm countering it at that point, I can promise you. We're gonna review property disclosures, so like at that point, pull up your property disclosures, hopefully they're online, that kind of stuff. Clarify appliances, lead-based paint, septic, well, inspections, you know, we want to make sure we know about that, but always, a clean contract is a contract more likely to get accepted. So you want to work on, I go back, I like to bring it back to I like to bring my clients back to the office. I like to make the offers with them. I know it sounds old school, and it is, I get it, it doesn't always happen, but that's my goal. Right? So we're gonna work on them together. We're gonna talk about inspection contingencies, items to remain with the property, closing, possession, warranty. If necessary, now is when we're gonna talk about the commission, right? I'm gonna submit the SS special steps 620 in order to have the seller sign off, agree to the commission, that kind of stuff. I may have the buyer do love letters. be careful of the love letters that we don't violate fair housing. It has to speak about the property and not about people. We can say, I love your house. I can't say my kids and I love your house. Yes, sir.
I was hesitant about doing that one time, one
Yeah.
year, someone would give me one, and I brought it up to my broker, because I was hesitant about
Yep.
that as well, because I didn't know if that was gonna go over how.
Yeah, so long as it's talking about the property and not about people, you're gonna be okay. You have to be very careful though. Because most of the time, most of them violate fair housing, just to be honest with you. So is there gonna be a bill of sale? Why would there be a bill of sale? If there's any personal property. Please do not send a bill of sale to any of your lenders. They don't wanna see it, okay? But bill of sales are, that gets done afterwards normally. Temporary occupancy exhibit, if there's a God in heaven, you don't wanna do a temporary occupancy, if you can help it, don't do it. Okay, again, if you haven't already done it, you're by a brokerage agreement. You wanna put time limits on your offer, because you don't wanna leave that offer out there into perpetuity. But also, you can't use it, especially in this market, you can't use a a time limit as a way to try and beat up a seller or their agent, like we list properties on Thursdays. We don't allow showings on Friday, we hold an open house on Saturday, we don't review any offers until Tuesday. And never fails, I get an offer on Saturday, says it expires at midnight. So, but my client and I have already discussed that we're gonna present all offers on Tuesday. So will I present your offer on Tuesday? Yes.
Yeah.
Will it be expired then?
Yeah.
Yes. So use common sense on here kind of thing. Now, I see it, I mean, we've had all kinds of things. I've had buyer's agents tell me, well, it's a full price offer, it's first, you have to accept it. Doesn't work that way either, right? I represent the seller and I have the seller's best interest in mind. It's not in the best interest to accept the first offer without seeing. So any kind of special steps, all for all my realtors, and even if you aren't a realtor, please buy GAR forms. I am biased about it, but there is a lot of protections in the GAR forms that are not in the RE forms. It is my own personal take on that, but we are wholeheartedly huge GAR form fans because they protect you and protect your clients better. So use those special steps when you need to. So whenever possible, check through them. They're all in there and they're written out already. So use the ones that are already prepared for you. Please cut and paste, okay? Don't write your own unless you know what you're doing. If you need to, ask your broker, ask the closing attorney. All your special steps begin with all parties agree. And you have to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row with them. Like, what must be done? Who's doing it? Where's it being done? When's it gonna be done by? Who's ordering it? Who's paying for it? And what are the consequences if it's not completed? Most of the time where we see the biggest errors happen in the repair addendum. Someone will say, seller agrees to repair the steps. Comes closing day, all you wrote was seller will repair the steps, and the steps aren't repaired. Does your buyer have to close?
Yes.
Who gets the earnest money if you don't close?
So.
The seller.
The seller gets the earnest money because the buyer didn't match up. Now, even though the seller didn't do what they said they were gonna do, that if you did not write that special stipulation up to say, if this isn't happened by this time and done by this way and that kind of stuff, yes, sir.
I even have the pages in there as well, like not the whole report, but whenever they ask to get fixed, and then have those pages on the side of it as well, so they can refer back to it, like we asked this specific thing and they can see it.
And all I'm saying is like exactly, you have to be very detailed about it, but we see most of the time is where somebody just says, and they expect, and we generally expect people to do what they say, but they don't always. And then now, if your buyer doesn't close, your buyer loses their earnest money, all because you didn't write your special steps the right way. Be very, very careful on there, all right? Because we have to protect our clients in there. And so if you just do, I see more problems with half-ass stipulations than most of the time in repair addendum, so.
You ever seen it where, sorry, is where they'll try to be like, instead of saying licensed, they'll say certified? And then so that way they can be like, well, my brother-in-law's not certified.
Well, but it really does, it kind of depends too, because I've seen it go both ways, right? I've seen where the buyer requests a licensed, bonded and insured electrician to replace the missing outlet cover. I'm not gonna do that either. I can replace an outlet cover kind of thing. So it just kind of depends on there. It kind of goes both ways. So go over your offer together. section by section, turn and flip, answer any questions. Are you comfortable? Handle objections. We're gonna need earnest money in here. If you can, if you can't meet them in person, can you do this over Authentisign and DigiSign and all that kind of stuff? Yes, you can, but please take the time to do that with them. Let them know you're gonna be presenting their offer to them and that you're gonna be back in touch with them. Keep your word on this. It's important. Now, here's some tips to get your offers accepted. So I really like to use an offer summary sheet, like that's a copy of one over there. Like when you send an offer summary sheet, just kind of wraps everything up. It's kind of like a cover. It's the old school fax cover letter. But who looks prepared with the seller now? You do, right? Here's all the details. This is all the pertinent information. Now, it's all still included in the contract back there, but you can see, you know, here's all my contact information, a little bio about me. Who looks professional to the seller? Yes, yes. Who's more likely to get the deal done? If all things are the same, I get 3 offers in, all very, very similar. This agent looks like they've got their act together. That'll be the one I choose. So have a well-written contract, no weird blanks in places. Don't make it crazy filled up. I mean, like the cleaner the offer, the better. Yes, sir.
Would you consider, I know like sometimes we're in a situation where we have to put TBD to be determined. Would you consider that not clean then?
It depends on, like I don't like TBDs on most contracts at all. Depends
They're
on.
real big in Kentucky on that, like as far as like, let's say they got their financing right, but they don't really know what their interest rate is.
Well,
yet.
you can't do that because that's a violation of license law here anyway. I can't speak to Kentucky, but here, because if you put TBD and the rates went up, well, now they don't qualify anymore.
Right, they ran into a big problem where they were like, I came from Northern Kentucky, and I was still in Southern Kentucky.
Yeah.
And where they were like, no, you need to put don't need to put TBD, because if the interest rate do rise, then if they want to be able to pull out because now their interest rate's higher, now they can't. And so they were like stressing, they were allowing it, but it was like a really.
GAR
great-
forms is different, like on here,
Yeah.
like you don't want to do TBD. I don't know of anything that I would do TBD on. Earnest money, what I mean by earnest money is all things to, you know, like we see it all the time. 3 offers, all very much similar. One has $1,000 earnest money, one has $2,000 earnest money, one has $10,000 earnest money. Which is the best offer?
10,000.
Did it cost that buyer a penny more? Were they probably gonna have to bring $10,000 to closing anyway?
Yes.
Right, so like, you do have to make sure you got your ducks in a row when it comes to protecting them, but yeah, earnest money. Buyer love letters, we talked about that, but be careful with that. Financing contingency timeframes, like talk to your lender, how quickly can you, how short of a time frame can you make on that? You can use escalation clauses or appraisal gaps if you need to on there. Having your lender follow up, big deal. When that lender calls that listing agent and says, look, my clients are ready to go. And then last thing is be nice. Sorry, mean people suck. Like we see this all the time where somebody submits an offer and it just says, you know, confirm receipt. The only thing it says. Well, I gotta go talk to my seller about, I got this offer, this offer, this offer. 3 of these agents all just said confirm receipt. And one of them called me and said, hey, what's important to your seller? You know, my buyers really love the house, but they want to make sure that this offer matches up to your seller. Do they need a longer due diligence period, a shorter due diligence? Are they trying to move faster or slower? What's kind of going on? Like, here's like these 3, all I have is an offer. This other one, I spoke to their agent, their lender called me, like all these are things that you can do. Because remember, how many deals can you lose before they fire you? 3. I mean, just statistically speaking, you can lose 3 deals before your buyers fire you. And when you do this, what have you just upped your chances of?
Not losing the deal.
Not losing the deal. You're gonna get more deals closed this way. All right, so prepare your clients for the outcome. Basically, 3 things are gonna happen now. It can be flat out rejected. It could be straight up off accepted, or it can be countered. And if they counter it back, we don't have to accept it. We can counter that back again in here. And then we start kind of going back and forth in there. The vast majority of offers have some form of counter offer included in the whole process. Let them know that up front. that it's very unlikely, I mean, how often do you submit offers and it doesn't have any counterback? Most have some.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, advocate. Back in the day, we used to submit contracts directly to the sellers. We used to be able to talk about the benefits, the pros of working with my buyer, how motivated my buyers are to buying this property. It's kind of a lost art anymore. Going back to that whole offer submitted, acknowledge receipt. That's the extent of what a lot of agents advocacy really is. If you'll take the time to go out and advocate for your clients, it can be a real benefit for you. Being nice, being cordial in here, show professionalism. It just works really, really well. Negotiation. When you have problems, ask why a lot. Because it's not always price. For a lot of our sellers, like it's not the highest price always wins. So we've had sellers, you know what? We need to stay here for 60 days. Or I need temporary occupancy. Or we just want to be able to rent the place back while we go through, because we're waiting on graduation. There's so many things we just recently had a much older seller who said, you know what, I can't physically or financially do any repairs. So the cleaner that we get it with no repairs as is kind of thing, we'll take that one. And it wasn't the highest offer, but there was no repairs. And for her, that was what was really important. But it's not always. And so that doesn't happen if you don't ask why. Yep.
Have you ever had it happen where they went to go sell their house, but they may ask for like 2 to 3 months to find something so they could use that money and they go buy, but they don't want to do the contingency just yet?
Well, but then that can only work for 60 days because all your loans, they have to occupy the property within 60 days. Yep. But also do be careful not to negotiate yourself out of the contract. Right? I mean, I'm all about negotiating, but you can also go to, you can push too far in here. And so you gotta be ready for that. So, your market, the market and the strength of your offer is gonna dictate how much pushing you can do. When things go wrong, accept it, take responsibility for it, especially when it's not your fault. People really appreciate that when you accept responsibility in here. Get everything verbally done, text and email, but get it in writing, get all parties agreeing to it in writing as quickly as you can. So you get the property, get under contract. Please, 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 for the love of God, use F-264. Again, this is a GAR form, but this is where you put everybody on the same page of music. Here's my buyer, seller, buyer's agent, seller agent, binding agreement date, earnest money, and option money, all the way through, all the deadlines, all the copies. Everybody knows exactly what's going on. No surprises. It's a good way to get to the closing table. Yes, it takes a little bit to fill it out, but once you just do it as part of doing business, it will make your life a lot easier. Everybody with me? Due diligence. Oh, okay. I've got a few slides, and for those of you here in class with me, suck it up. You're just going to sit through them. For the folks online, we have hit the 3 hours, and if you guys got a dip, I got nothing but love for you, but I'm going to keep rolling. So just going to throw that out there. All right, due diligence. You have until 11:59 on the last day of due diligence. The day that due diligence starts is always day 0. So it doesn't matter if you submitted at 4 o'clock, it doesn't start at 4 o'clock. Today's day 0. Tomorrow is day 1. Y'all with me?
Yep.
Try to schedule inspections as quickly as you can. Some of our due diligence periods are only 3 days. You gotta move really fast. Schedule it to include the buyer and you. You should be at your inspections. Because if you don't, some home inspectors will scare the crap out of your buyers. And so you need to be there. Also, if you're a realtor and the house is occupied, you're supposed to be there. Go to the inspection. Yes, you. Okay. Stay the entire time. Listen to what the inspector's saying in here. Don't let them kill your deal on there. Finish up, find out when it's going to be emailed to you and the buyers. Anything more than a couple of days is wrong. Most of them will send it to you that day or the next morning, kind of thing. Go over your report with the buyers. keep them calm about it. What's the purpose in doing a home inspection?
See if there's any problems.
You're looking for deal killers. They're all, but what you gotta watch out for is a lot of these things are written like the Bible, right? So many of these home inspections, it's all this stuff in red, like Jesus spoke it out. So like, not everything is in red. They're looking for like what are the deal killers? The rest of it is so that you know, so that the buyer's prepared for what's coming up in the future. Some of these are 50 pages long. And so, but it's still the cheapest insurance that you're ever gonna have. So it's definitely worthwhile doing, but don't let it just scare your clients. And if you don't have good conversations with them, it will scare your clients out there. So also make sure you note kind of the environment. Some folks do a home inspection solely with the purpose of trying to beat up sellers. That's not the purpose of a home inspection. It's so that you can find deal killers and what is your client prepared to walk away for what reasons kind of thing. Your due diligence period is a negotiation time. Advocate with a listing agent and ask a lot of whys on that kind of stuff. Make sure that you've signed all your amendment to address concerns prior to the last day, and it has to come back by that time. If you send over an amendment to address concerns at 10 o'clock on the last day of due diligence, and that you send it over, but the seller doesn't sign it, does it count?
No.
No, you better send over a TNR with it and a termination and release as well at the same time, because if not, you've just committed your clients, unless that seller signs it in time. Give yourself enough time on there. For the loan, make sure that the LO knows immediately about a finalized contract, send a copy over as soon as possible. Ask the LO where they stand in the process. Hopefully this is somebody you know. We have some problems sometimes with some of the online lenders getting a lot of conversation with us. Some lenders don't want to talk to us. And I understand a little bit, but the other side of the thing is they don't get paid if we don't get to close it. And I don't need any personal information. I don't need them to violate anything. I just need to know where we stand on the loan. If you're not going to talk to me, their agent, then we're probably going to have problems. You need to know that right up front. Stay in touch with the LO all the way through. Make sure the loan officer doesn't order the appraisal until after due diligence period, because we may negotiate this deal dead and then you've ordered an appraisal already. Keep the listing agent informed and know when we have a clear to close. In Georgia, a clear to close is just hey, we got a clear to close. There's not a formal document like in other states. Some people expect that. Basically, you want to be involved with the loan process all the way through. Look, if the lender screws up the deal, who are they going to blame? You. So the vast majority of our lenders, especially local lenders, are really, really good at what they do. But sometimes you got to strap a saddle on and just wear that tail out. I mean, I'm serious. Not all lenders are that way, but if they're not responding to you, then they're not going to be ready to close. So, and sometimes maybe we need to change lenders. I want to know that sooner rather than later out there. So stay in control with your buyers all the way through. Check out your timed items with your seller, that kind of stuff, termite, carpet cleaning, yada, yada, yada. Order home warranty. Make sure how that home warranty was written, who's going to order it, when's it got to be ordered by, how much is it, who's going to pay, that kind of stuff. As quickly as you can, get a copy of the settlement statement to go over with the buyers. The settlement statement is pretty simple once you actually start looking at it, but just make sure that you're prepared for that. Send them, a list of items that they need to bring to closing. What's the big thing they got to bring to closing?
So
ID. So I can't believe how many people drive around with no license and then they come to closing. So if you can get a list of utilities from the listing agent, it's a really nice thing to make sure that they know what have their utilities turned on ahead of time. List of moving companies, boxes, that kind of stuff. Another settlement statement. On closing day, schedule a walkthrough as early as possible. Okay, because I want to find out any problems right away. Discuss if anything that's not done. Can we have things put over in an escrow to hold that until these things are done? All these are options. But if you have a closing at 4 and you're trying to do a walkthrough at 3 and you find something wrong, you're really scrambling at this point. So caravan, don't ride with your buyers.
I just want to say, I did a walkthrough because my schedule is time for the
Yeah.
client. And we ended up doing it the day before, kind of towards the evening. And they still had stuff in there, of course, and they were kind of freaked out about it, but I was reassuring them. I was like, no, it says in the contract, they'll have everything out. And then lo and behold, the house closed, we went back to take pictures, the person was still there. And with all their stuff.
Oh.
And I was there for 3 hours trying to like make sure that they weren't calling the police, everybody was happy. The other one took their side, they didn't do.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, and so, yeah, that had happened. I would say the day of is probably better because then you're gonna have an idea.
Well,
like, say,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you know,
But sometimes, you know, I mean, those are the kind of things that are gonna happen to you, and then it's like, are we gonna close, are we not gonna close, are we gonna carry this forward, are we gonna sign an extension, that kind of stuff. So, go over your finalized HUD-1 settlement statements, make sure it hasn't changed, well, you know, the attorney's gonna give them their closing powers, copy of warranty, ask for your testimonials at the time of closing. Are you gonna do a closing gift? That's a you call on there kind of thing. Are you gonna schedule a housewarming party?
like, shit.
Maybe, you know, it depends on the client, you know, like what your process is. But please be the hero, continue to engage. Like, remember, past clients and referrals. This is now a past client. Keep that really going. So do your closing gift, you know? Do you offer a home warranty, even if you can't get the seller to agree to it? Send thank you cards, show up on moving day with pizza and Coke or beer, whatever, that kind of thing. Make sure that all your clients' details are in the database so you can continue to reach out. You know, first of the year, send homestead reminders for all of them because they have to apply for homestead the first of next year to be able to qualify for the following year. And then make the call. How's the house? Any problems? Is there anything I can help with? Don't be afraid to make the call after the close on there. And then throw a housewarming party. Because at that housewarming party, who's going to be there?
The neighbors.
Not just their neighbors, all their friends that are thinking about buying too are going to be there as well. So then afterwards, your new neighbors compliments of me. Can you put that inside in the yard? Yeah, I like that. All right, and then questions?
Wow.
Wow.
The info.
All right, it is kind of thing. All right, let's see if I have any more questions here online. Please keep us logged in, Kimberly says. Okay, sounds good. All right, well, for all my folks online, we are done now. So I really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you very, very much. And then for those of us here in class, we're going to take about a 10-minute break and then we're going to jump in and do buyer's presentations and that kind of stuff. So, all right.